Chapter 204. In Lu Chen's impression, Li Mushi belongs to the kind of beautiful and shrewd modern woman. Regardless of her sexual orientation, the eldest daughter of the Li family who graduated from the Wharton School of Business, had a candid personality and a keen business sense. Under her control, Mukin crowdfunding was full of vitality and vigor. Lu Chen still admires her very much. It was just that at this moment Li Mushi, who stood in front of Lu Chen, had a completely different image. She was like a female leopard with her claws and fangs, beautiful and dangerous. In particular, Li Mushi's eyes, which were staring at Lu Chen, were shining with excitement, as if she was staring at a delicious prey and was eager to pounce on him. Haha, who is this guy? Isn't competing with our big sister looking for abuse? Do you think this brother really has courage, or doesn't he know how powerful our big sister Mushi is? He must not know. In terms of body size alone, Lu Chen, who is more than 180 centimeters tall, is firmly superior to Li Mushi, and after a long period of unremitting exercise and nutritional supplements, his physique is also quite strong. In addition, Lu Chen is a man. It stands to reason that the onlookers should be worried about Li Mushi. However, the truth was the complete opposite. Most of the people around the ring looked at Lu Chen with ridicule in their eyes. There was no lack of schadenfreude, and there was even pity and sympathy. Someone recognized Lu Chen. Isn't this Lu Chen the champion of Singing China? What, Singing China? You said he sings? Well, she's a singer. She sings very well. She's very talented. Have you heard of her? That's what he sings. Haha, Sister Mushi is going to abuse a noob. Their comments were clearly heard by Lu Chen, making the corners of his mouth twitch. So I'm a singer? It seems that's not wrong. Li Mushi noticed Lu Chen's look and said with a chuckle, "Don't worry, I'll be very gentle." Lu Chen felt that the corner of his mouth was about to twitch. He sighed and said, "Sister Mushi, you go first." Li Mushi's eyes flashed. She suddenly strode forward and approached Lu Chen in an instant. It was like a leopard pouncing on its prey in the jungle. In close combat, she suddenly waved her right arm, 4 fingers of her right hand closed together, and her thumb bent close to the base of her index finger. A standard palm knife chopped towards Lu Chen's neck like lightning, swift and powerful, breaking through the air and creating wind. Had it been an ordinary person, they would not have been able to react in time and would have been slashed to the ground instantly. It was very likely that he had fainted. But Lu Chen was prepared. He raised his left arm without hesitation and accurately blocked Li Mushi's palm blade with his elbow. At the same time, he clenched his right fist and punched straight at Li Mushi's face. Pah! Li Mushi's palm knife chopped Lu Chen's elbow and did not complete the winning blow. Facing Lu Chen's fist, she nimbly dodged sideways, twisted her waist and suddenly jumped up. At the same time, her slender right leg flew up, and a beautiful roundhouse kick was thrown out. Both sides were in close combat. Li Mushi's evasive counterattack was wonderful, and her roundhouse kick was full of power. Good. The onlookers around the ring all cheered and all of them were extremely excited. In their view, Lu Chen was bound to lose. Li Mushi's strength in kickboxing, although not comparable to the top masters, was absolutely easy to take down a singer. Even Lu Chen seems to have a few tricks up his sleeve. Bang! But to everyone's disappointment, Li Mushi's roundhouse kick was unexpectedly blocked by Lu Chen's raised left arm again. Before her body fell, Lu Chen turned sideways and punched again. This punch seemed slow, but it was actually fast and it was silent. It hit Li Mushi's abdomen in the air. Li Mushi was in the air and could not dodge at all. With a muffled sound, her whole body flew out like a kite with a broken string, and fell heavily on the ring a few meters away. The cheers around the ring stopped abruptly, and the onlookers' expressions froze as if they had seen a ghost. How could this be? In their view, Lu Chen, who dared to compete with Li Mushi, was destined to be beaten to a pulp. It was just a matter of how long he persisted, and there was no suspense in the outcome of the match. But now the two sides had just started fighting, and Li Mushi was sent flying to the ground. She was actually vulnerable. This completely subverted everyone's common sense, and suddenly there was silence. Lu Chen closed his hands and smiled faintly. "Sister Mushi, thanks for letting me win." But under his smile there was hidden pain. Although he unexpectedly defeated Li Mushi, in fact, Lu Chen was not unscathed. His left arm, which had just received the roundhouse kick, was numb and sore, and it was estimated that his muscles were injured. The strength of Li Mushi's kick was very strong, and his body's tempering was far from enough. Li Mushi struggled to get up and stared at him fiercely. Her eyes were full of shame and unwillingness. Her right hand pressed on her abdomen. Lu Chen's fist was very heavy. There was no tenderness for the fairer sex. After a moment she said dejectedly, "I lost." Miss Li was a very proud person. A loss was a loss and she would never do anything to go back on her words and deny it. But she was really unwilling to accept it. Lu Qin secretly breathed a sigh of relief. To be honest, Li Mushi's foundation was very strong, but she was eager to win. In a situation where she didn't have an absolute advantage, she actually made a roundhouse kick. She simply didn't put him in her eyes. The martial arts that Lu Qin mastered came from Mo Ran. Although this actor in the dream world didn't have much fame, he had put a lot of hard work in practicing martial arts and training his body. He also had a lot of experience in fighting with others, so he had real martial arts. Since he woke up that day, Lu Qin had been training every day regardless of rain or shine. His basic physical quality was good, and he had talent in this area. Although he didn't dare to say that he had learned all the skills, it was not a problem to defeat Li Mushi, who underestimated him. In time, Lu Qin could be stronger than Mo Ran because he was still very young. If Li Mushi fought steadily with Lu Qin, the result would be hard to say. Now she could only swallow the bitter fruit of defeat. Li Mushi also could afford to lose. She quickly calmed down, raised her head again and said to Lu Qin, "Next time it won't be so easy for you to beat me. There will be a next time?" Lu Qin shook his head. It was not interesting to defeat a woman, and there was no glory. If there was a chance, he wanted to find other people here to practice a few times. Lu Qin's eyes swept over the people around the ring. There should be a suitable opponent among them. Lu Qin also had a good idea in his heart. But the time was not ripe yet. He got off the ring. At this time the onlookers looked at Lu Qin with completely different gazes. Surprise, awe, curiosity. Lu Qin went to the locker room to change out of his Taoist robe and put on his own clothes. He returned to the original resting seat and sat down. Soon after, Li Mushi also came. The eldest daughter of the Li family had completely calmed down, and seemed to have accepted her crushing defeat to Lu Qin. But the light flashing in her eyes showed that she didn't intend to give up. "Lu Qin, where did you learn martial arts?" Li Mushi was really curious. She had read Lu Qin's information, and there was no mention of Lu Qin practicing martial arts. The fact was that he was very good at martial arts. The eldest daughter of the Li family felt a dull pain in her abdomen, and she couldn't help but grit her teeth. She had never lost so miserably. Lu Qin knew that Li Mushi wanted to get information out of him, so he smiled and said, "Self-taught." He reached out and tapped on the table and asked, "You won't change the conditions you promised, will you?" Li Mushi snorted and said, 20 million to buy 41% of your shares in Mukin crowdfunding. You can retain 10% of the non-diluted founder's shares. We will sign the contract tomorrow. As for your sister," she glared at Lu Qin and said, "I won't take the initiative to find her in the future unless she comes to me." Lu Qin couldn't help the joy in his heart and said sincerely, "Thank you, Sister Mushi." Lu Qin was really grateful to Li Mushi. With this money he could finally pay off all the debts of his family. Not only that, the money left after paying off the debts could also help him realize a wish that had been buried in his heart. From then on he would be free from debt, and from then on he would be able to jump freely in the sea and fly freely in the sky. Of course, Li Mushi wouldn't suffer a loss. Under her control and management, the prospects of Mukin crowdfunding were extremely bright. Although if Lu Qin transferred most of his shares now, he might lose future benefits. But a person should know how to be content. Compared with his efforts, 20 million was already an amazing excess return, not to mention the retention of 10% of the shares. Lu Qin was satisfied. Li Mushi couldn't see Lu Qin so happy and said, "Don't be happy too early. I also have a condition." Lu Qin was stunned. "What condition?" Li Mushi said, "In the future, you have to come here several times a month to practice martial arts with me, otherwise?" Without waiting for her to finish, Lu Qin agreed, "No problem. As long as I'm free, I'll definitely come." It was great to have such a martial arts training ground. As for being Li Mushi's sparring partner, it was a complete trifle. Li Mushi was a very good opponent. Lu Qin agreed so happily that Li Mushi felt that her calculation seemed to have failed again. This eldest Miss Li was very unhappy, but there was nothing she could do. She remembered it in her heart. One day she would get back at him. The next afternoon, in the new Mukin crowdfunding company, the two sides formally signed an equity transfer agreement. According to the agreement, the funds for the acquisition of shares would be transferred into Lu Qin's personal account within 3 days. After solving this important matter, Lu Qin didn't relax. His career had just started. On the morning of October 10th, Lu Qin came to Flying Stone Records in the New Era Art Park. He was invited by Lin Jijie to participate in the audition of the title song of the debut album of the MSN Beautiful Girl group. The title song of this album, of course, was written by Lu Chen. Chapter 205. Flying Stone Records Listening Room. As a veteran record company in the industry, the strength of Flying Stone Records was still very deep. Its equipment and facilities were among the best in the industry, and the listening room was no exception. Although the area of this listening room was not very large, the decoration was strictly in accordance with the industry's first-class standards. Whether it was the floor, the wall layout, or the audio and video system, they were all very advanced. With special seats, it could be used as a very high-specification home theater. Today's day was a bit special. The listening room that could accommodate 24 listeners was full, and there were several people who had no seats standing directly in the aisle. It could be said to be crowded together. And all the people present were the top figures of Flying Stone Records. Yi Xiangjuan, the vice president of Flying Stone Records, Lin Jijie, the manager of the public relations department, the manager of the brokerage department, the chief contracted author Fan Jun, and a number of agents gathered together, including the protagonists of this listening session, MSN Group. In addition, Xia Guiyuan, the general manager of Flying Stone Records, also came. Xia Guiyuan was in his 50s this year. He has been in charge of Flying Stone Records for more than 20 years. He has experienced the process of the record company from its most glorious peak to its decline, and then to its resurgence. His prestige in the company is extremely high. In the circle, everyone's evaluation of Xia Guiyuan was that he was shrewd and tenacious. He had a wide network and a deep background. He acted swiftly and decisively. He was very old and could accept new things. The establishment of the MSN Beautiful Girl group was the result of the promotion of Xia Guiyuan and Lin Jijie, so he would personally attend the listening session of the title song of the album. Otherwise, a mere song, even if it was the title work, was not worth Xia Guiyuan coming out to suppress the scene. Some time ago, there were some different voices within Flying Stone Records about MSN's debut album, thinking that the investment was too large, leading to a doubling of the risk. In particular, the cost of hiring Lu Chen to compose and supervise the production was as high as 1 million plus. Giving a newcomer the treatment of a top author had never happened in the history of Flying Stone Records. Although Lu Chen's talent was excellent, and his solo album has also been recognized by the market, there were always people who had doubts, and even suspected that there was any insider trading. This brought a lot of pressure to Lin Jijie. It wasn't until Lu Chen swept the original music chart recently and shocked the industry that the voices of doubt weakened a lot. But there were still doubts. Today, Xia Guiyuan was actually sitting here to support Lin Jijie. In addition to the senior management of Flying Stone Records, the company also invited a number of well-known people in the industry. One of them was Zhen Zhen, editor-in-chief of Pop Music magazine. She had a good relationship with Lin Jijie and was very interested in MSN's debut album. She was invited to come today. There were also 2 music radio hosts and a well-known music critic. Such a scene made the 3 girls of the MSN group, Mu Xiaochu, Su Jiejia and Ning Tian, all tremble with fear. They sat in the corner of the listening room and did not dare to breathe. In fact, the beautiful girls were even more excited because this song was of great significance to their debut album. The door of the listening room was pushed open, and an employee of Flying Stone Records let a young man in. Mu Xiaochu and the others were sitting close to the door, so they were the first to see the newcomers. They immediately stood up and said to the young man in unison, "Hello, Teacher Lu." The crisp and melodious greeting of MSN alarmed the other people present. Xia Guiyuan, Yi Xiangjuan, Lin Jijie. They stood up one after another. The comer was Lu Chen. He didn't expect so many people to come to today's main audition. He was very surprised. Lu Chen nodded to Mu Xiaochu and the other 2. He put his hands together and apologized to Lin Jijie, who had just come over. "I'm really sorry to have kept everyone waiting. There was a traffic jam on the way here just now." Lin Jijie said with a smile, "You're not late. Let me introduce you. This is our general manager." He first introduced Xia Guiyuan to Lu Chen. Lu Chen had been to Flying Stone Records 4 or 5 times, but it was the first time he had seen the helmsman. He has also heard a lot about Xia Guiyuan's name, a real senior. Xia Guiyuan held Lu Chen's hand and said with a smile, "Mr. Lu Chen is young and promising. It's also our luck that Flying Stone Records is fortunate to cooperate with you." Such an evaluation was really high, which made Lu Chen a little fearful and in awe. Lin Jijie introduced him to several other guests. Including Zhen Zhen, the editor-in-chief of Pop Music magazine. Everyone was very respectful and polite to Lu Chen. This respect was not just out of politeness, But Lu Chen's status in the pop music world was no longer as simple as the winner of Singing China. It could be said that he has erected his own style. Lu Chen's current position was achieved with 11 original works on the original music chart. This unprecedented record was enough to make everyone feel deep veneration for him. After some pleasantries, Lu Chen sat down next to Xia Guiyuan. This position was specially vacated for him. Lin Jijia personally operated the playback equipment. Before the audition he said, "Thank you for coming to listen to the album title song of MSN Group. This song was composed by Lu Chen and co-arranged and produced with me. After listening to it, please give me more valuable comments." In the audition room there was a soft applause. Lin Jijia said with a smile, "The name of this song is called Not Yet Lovers." As soon as his voice fell he pressed the play button at the same time. The audition room became extremely quiet in an instant. Until the prelude sounded. "Why am I the only one who can talk to you all night? Why do I want to see you again after saying goodbye? Among my friends, you are the most special, you always make me feel very close and considerate. Why do you care who goes shopping with me? Why do you worry about who makes love to me? You say you have feelings for me a little more than others, but you don't say how much. Friends and above, not yet lovers, sweet but upset, happy and chaotic. In the future what will become? I can't wait to know the answer." This song, Not Yet Lovers, was the title song selected by Lu Chen for MSN's album. The meaning of the title of the song, Not Yet Lovers, comes from the Japanese friends and above, not yet lovers. It means that the relationship between two people is above the relationship of friends, but has not yet reached the level of lovers. It is most suitable to express the green and astringent feeling between young people. The first three parts of the song were sung by the three beautiful girls of MSN. They used their respective sweet or clear voices to sing the expectation of love and the sweetness of being trapped in the dream of love of semi-mature girls, and delicately conveyed the longing and dreams of girls in this awkward period. In an instant, it caught the ears of almost everyone present. The singing of Mu Xiaochu, Su Jiejia and Ning Tian vividly expressed the unique feelings of little girls. The beautiful melody, the just right arrangement, and the simple but beautiful accompaniment created an atmosphere that was intoxicating. "Just a little closer, I'll let you hold my hand, a little braver, I'll go with you. What are you waiting for? There's not much time left. If it goes on, we can only be friends. A little closer, I'll nod, a little more impulsive, I won't dodge. Just 3 words, don't hesitate so long as you say it, you can have me." The chorus part was also the climax of the whole song. The combination of the 3 girls was perfect. The reserve of youth, the friendship of youth, and the inexplicable heartbeat of youth. The ignorant pure love, the brave encouragement, and the impulse to pursue true love made people feel as if they had returned to the past, and they couldn't help but think of the people they had missed. Whether it was sad or sweet, perhaps only they knew. The farthest love was that you were on the left and I was on the right. The most memorable love was that it was more than friends but not lovers. Although he had heard it many times, when he heard the final version, Lu Chen was also moved by their voices. As newcomers in the circle and members of the new girl group of Flying Stone Records, Mu Xiaochu, Su Jiejia and Ning Tian were all under a lot of pressure. Many people were staring at them and paying attention to them. And this kind of attention was not only well-intentioned, but also some people wanted to see them make a fool of themselves. MSN withstood the pressure. When Lu Chen brought the music score of Not Yet Lovers, they practiced hard, tried to figure it out, practiced it over and over again, and even the slightest flaw had to be corrected repeatedly. Now, the hard work of the 3 girls had finally produced a beautiful flower. Although the final fruit has yet to be tested by the market, at least now, in this listening room, both the senior management of Flying Stone Records and the invited listeners were immersed in the singing. Their looks were enough to explain everything. "Can you make up your mind quickly and tell me I love you?" When MSN finished the last sentence of the chorus and the accompaniment ended, applause suddenly rang out. Xia Guiyuan was the first to stand up and clap his hands hard. He was the oldest of the people present, and he should have been the least moved by this song, Not Yet Lovers. Because the most suitable people to listen to Not Yet Lovers were young people. But the general manager of Flying Stone Records could hear the sincerity and value contained in this song. It was worthy of his appreciation and applause. Whether it was Lin Jijia, Lu Chen or MSN, they all lived up to his expectations. The others followed suit and gave warm applause and praise to the 3 girls sitting in the back. "Good song. It's really good, and the singing is also very good. It can definitely be on the original music chart, at least in the top 10. This song made them, senior industry people, have a premonition that an album with great market potential and even a big hit was about to be born. It may only be a matter of time before MSN becomes popular. In the face of the praise of their predecessors, Mu Xiaochu, Su Jiajia and Ning Tian were obviously unprepared. They stood up a little bewildered, their pretty faces flushed, and then bowed in a panic to thank them. In the end, MSN's eyes focused on Lu Chen, because they all knew who had given them everything they were enjoying now. Note, Not Yet Lovers lyrics, Sure Rinching / composition, BK/WA. Chapter 206. Lu Chen, it's really thanks to you this time. In the music director's office of Flying Stone Records, Lin Jijie said to Lu Chen with a smile, "It's a pleasure to cooperate with you." The title song of MSN's debut album, Not Yet Lovers, was written by Lu Chen and co-arranged and produced by Lin Jijie. At the just completed audition, it received unanimous praise from the company's senior executives and people in the industry. This song was too in line with the temperament and characteristics of MSN. Although Lin Jijie had always been full of confidence in the production process, it was not until the dust had settled that he was really relieved. The music director of Flying Stone Records has rich experience in the industry. He has produced many albums and there are many big star idols he has cooperated with. It stands to reason that he is used to big storms and waves, and there is no need to be so serious. The reason was that there was a lot of controversy from within the company some time ago, which made him, an old gun, feel pressure. In particular, Lin Jijie's decision to invite Lu Chen to sing a song had caused a lot of gossip. The price of Lu Chen's song was 350,000 yuan, and the friendship price given to Flying Stone Records was 300,000 yuan. Plus the remuneration of the producer, it had completely reached the level of the top writers in the industry. He was a newcomer who had just made his debut. What ability did he have? Some people even suspected that Lin Jijie had taken a kickback. It was not until a large number of Lu Chen's works landed on the original music list that the rumor disappeared in the company. There were also people who thought that Lin Jijie seizing MSN and MSN's debut album was an act of usurping power. Some people were waiting to see him make a fool of himself. Today's audition passed smoothly, and the future of MSN was broad. Lin Jijie was naturally very grateful to Lu Chen. He also admired his own vision and determination. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Big brother Lin is too polite. I still need your help with my album." His own album You Who Sat Next to Me completed crowdfunding a few days ago. At present, the CD and peripheral products have been put on Flying Stone Records to start production. If everything goes well, it can be sent to all parts of the country next week. Lin Jijie had put in a lot of effort in this process. Lin Jijie laughed. "We are open for business. How can we reject customers? What do you mean by helping?" After a pause he said, "But I really have something I need your help with." Lu Chen asked curiously, "What kind of help?" Lin Jijie said with a smile, "We are going to shoot the MV of the title song for MSN. We are currently lacking a male lead." The male lead of the music video for Not Yet Lovers? Lu Chen didn't expect that Lin Jijie actually wanted him to star in MSN's MV. It was really a joke to say help. There were many artists under Flying Stone Records. It was really easy to find someone who was about the same age and appearance as Lu Chen. Many people would break their heads to get such a good thing. How could the fertile water of Flying Stone Records flow into Lu Chen's field? Lu Chen didn't believe it. "Big brother Lin, don't joke like this." Lin Jijie said sternly, "It's really not a joke. You are the original author of this song, and you meet all the conditions. There is a publicity explosive point. I think it's very suitable." It turned out to be a publicity opportunity. Lu Chen understood that Flying Stone Records really spared no effort to make MSN popular. With his identity and fame, it was indeed a good publicity stunt to shoot a MV with MSN. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, "When will it be shot?" Lin Jijie replied, "It will be shot the day after tomorrow. Can you spare time?" "It will be shot in 2 days at most. The main shots are all in the school, so it won't take too much time. As for the pay for the performance, our budget is limited. Do you think 30,000 is okay?" MV was completely different from advertisements in movies and TV plays. The male lead of MSN like Lu Chen was usually of a friendship nature. The price of 30,000 was very good. If it was an artist of Flying Stone Records, it was completely free. Lu Chen still had some understanding of the market. He nodded and said, "The pay doesn't matter. I just have one request." Originally, things like this should be discussed by Lu Shi, but because the amount was very small and it was of the nature of friendly help, he agreed directly. Later, his sister would make up the contract. Of course, Lu Chen was not completely without requirements. He had conditions. Monday, October 12, Northern Conservatory of Music. Northern Conservatory of Music was one of the three major conservatories in Beijing. It had the same status as Beijing Conservatory of Music and Zhongyin Academy. Among the advanced conservatories in China, it was famous for its open-mindedness and freedom of study. Beijing attached great importance to social practice. After graduation, most of the students entered various media and entertainment companies and had a wide influence in the circle. As a veteran music production company, Flying Stone Records has always had a good cooperative relationship with Beijing. Therefore, the MV of MSN's Not Yet Lovers was filmed in Northern Conservatory of Music. Flying Stone Records still attached great importance to this MV and sent an elite team. There were 3 cameramen alone, and others such as art, lighting, makeup, costumes, props and so on were all available. In the lecture hall, Lu Chen was sitting in front of a vertical piano. He was wearing a special school uniform and playing the song, Not Yet Lovers, with rapt attention. The early morning sun shone through the gaps in the leaves and the glass windows, casting mottled light and shadow on his face and body. The 3 members of MSN, Mu Xiaochu, Su Jiejia and Ning Tian, sat in the first row, enjoying Lu Chen's performance with a smile on their faces. Mu Xiaochu was in the middle with Su Jiejia and Ning Tian on her left and right. This was the second scene of the MV of Not Yet Lovers. In this MV, Mu Xiaochu was the female lead partnered with Lu Chen, and Su Jiejia and Ning Tian were her best friends. Originally, Flying Stone Records wanted Ning Tian to be the female lead, because she was the most beautiful and had the best appearance. But Lin Jijia thought that Mu Xiaochu's pure and sweet temperament was most in line with the theme of Not Yet Lovers, so he chose her in the end. After playing half of the song, Lu Chen raised his head and looked at the seat in front of him, just in time to meet Mu Xiaochu's eyes. He smiled and winked at the other party mischievously. The latter bowed her head shyly and didn't dare to meet Lu Chen's eyes. She was as shy as a frightened rabbit. Although he knew that they were filming, although he knew that 2 cameras were pointed at him at the same time, Lu Chen still had a wonderful feeling in his heart, and inadvertently thought of 2 lines of poetry. The gentleness of bowing her head was just like a water lotus that was too shy to resist. As for the sound of the zither, it was like a clear spring that spread out, forming circles and circles of ripples. It was just like Lu Chen's mood at this moment. Sitting in the corner of the classroom, MV director Fang Hui bit her lip. She was afraid that she would shout out on the spot. The shot was amazing. Fang Hui was an external director of Flying Stone Records. She was famous in the circle for being good at shooting movies and dramas that express women's delicate emotions. She has also shot a lot of MVs and has extremely rich experience. Fang Hui originally didn't want to come, because the male and female leads of this MV were newcomers who had just debuted. They definitely lacked shooting experience and would waste a lot of her time. She has very strict requirements for her work. But because it was Xia Guiyuan, the boss of Flying Stone Records, who personally invited her, Fang Hui still gave her face. What she didn't expect was that the shooting process was unexpectedly smooth. First of all, the female lead Mu Xiaochu. She obviously didn't have much experience in acting. At the beginning she made several mistakes, all of which were low-level mistakes. But her understanding was very high. After being reminded and pointed out, the same mistakes would not be made again. The most important thing was that Mu Xiaochu herself was a college girl. It was a natural performance. She played the female lead's psychological state of longing for love, longing to be loved, and not daring to take the initiative to confess to the male lead very naturally. Fang Hui even felt that her feelings for Lu Chen. As for Lu Chen, Fang Hui really didn't believe that Lu Chen was a newcomer who had just debuted, and had no previous learning experience in acting. His performance in front of the camera was impeccable, and his movements and eyes were very on point. Lu Chen's acting skills seemed to be natural, and his acting talent made Fang Hui's heart palpitate with excitement. He was simply a natural actor. In Fang Hui's view, Lu Chen's performance today was the biggest surprise she had received. The female director even had an idea. Cut. When Lu Chen finished playing the song, Fang Hui finally couldn't help standing up and said with a smile, "It's over." If he could maintain such an excellent state, it wouldn't take 2 days at all, and all the shooting could be completed today. Not far from Fang Hui, Li Feiyu was still holding a mobile camera and shooting non-stop. All the scenes he shot were being transmitted to the live broadcast room of Whale TV through the 4G network. Lu Chen's condition for agreeing to star in this MV was that he hoped that Flying Stone Records would allow him to broadcast the shooting scene live. Lu Chen signed a 2-year contract with Whale TV. According to the requirements of the contract, he must have enough time to host live broadcasts and interact with fans every month. Although there were ways to circumvent the restrictions of the contract, and this contract had become untimely with the rise of Lu Chen's fame, so far he has no plans to give up live broadcasting. Because Lu Chen has not forgotten what has supported him all the way to the present. Most of his fans came from the live broadcasting platform. It was the rewards from these fans that helped him get through the initial difficult period. Even if Lu Chen's time to play and sing in the live broadcast room was getting less and less, fans had no complaints. They also enthusiastically bought his album and participated in his album crowdfunding activities. One must know how to be grateful. Therefore, when conditions permit, Lu Chen will appear in his own live broadcast room. It's not necessarily to sing. Just like shooting a music video now, it can also bring a great surprise and novelty to fans. Tien. This is also a small reward for his fans who have been supporting him. Lu Chen stood up and waved at Li Feiyu's camera. Good morning, everyone. Chapter 207. Ring ring. There was a shrill bell in Ningguan Second High School, telling all the teachers and students that the time for the first class had arrived. Meng Meng rushed out of the classroom and ran all the way to the bathroom. She found the innermost position and squatted down. She carefully closed the door, then took out her mobile phone from her dress pocket and turned it on. She didn't forget to plug in the headphones. According to the school regulations, high school students are not allowed to carry electronic products with them, especially smartphones. Once they are caught, they will be confiscated on the spot, and their parents must come and sign before they can take them back. Meng Meng was a very good girl. She didn't dare to violate the school rules, but today's situation was a bit different. She decided to do something bad. It took 15 seconds to turn on the phone, but Meng Meng felt as if it had been a long time. Entering the UI interface, she couldn't wait to connect to the data network and skillfully open the browser. She logged in to the address that had been stored in the favorites column. Whale TV, Lu Fei Live Broadcast Room. Lu Fei is Lu Chen, and Meng Meng is a fan of Lu Chen, a real fan of Lu Jiejun's group. After a few seconds, the live broadcast screen and a large number of bullet screens were brushed out at the same time. Meng Meng glanced at the number of people online and was suddenly shocked. There were more than 270,000, which was incredible. It should be known that today was Monday, and it was also early in the morning. There were people working and studying. Not many people would be immersed in the live broadcast website. Such a high number of people online was simply breaking through the sky. That is, our Lu Chen is big and has high charm. Meng Meng thought happily and felt very happy. As a die-hard fan of Lu Chen, Meng Meng never thought about being with her idol. She liked Lu Chen's songs, liked to listen to Lu Chen's voice, and liked to see Lu Chen's face. That was enough. Yesterday in the fan group, Meng Meng saw an announcement that Lu Chen and a girl group called MSN would shoot a music video today, and the shooting process would be broadcast live. Therefore, she secretly brought her phone over and watched it during the break of class. Even if it was just a glance. This was Lu Chen's first music video. Although it wasn't his, it was said that the female lead was Mu Xiaoqiu. Many fans of Lu Chen are no strangers to Mu Xiaoqiu. They knew her in the competition of Singing China, and Mu Xiaoqiu has also appeared on Lu Chen's live broadcast. Everyone affectionately calls her little sister Xiaoqiu. To be honest, Meng Meng was very envious of Mu Xiaoqiu and even a little jealous. On the phone screen, Meng Meng finally saw Lu Chen. Lu Chen was playing the piano. He was playing a piece that she had never heard before. The place he was in was obviously a school classroom, probably a university. Meng Meng also wanted to go to college. Around them they could see the staff, the director, the cameraman, the lighting and the set. Everyone's attention was focused on Lu Chen. It was really interesting. So this is how music videos are filmed. It should be similar to filming movies and TV shows, right? A smile appeared on Meng Meng's face, and she clicked on the screen and typed out a bullet screen. Come on, big Lu Chen. And at this moment in the live broadcast room, the bullet screen and gifs were even denser than a storm. The anchor is so handsome, it's simply irresistible. This is the first time I've watched someone else shoot a music video in a live broadcast. It's really interesting. Lu Chen is the male lead, right? Who is the female lead? The female lead is little sister Xiaoqiu. She is now a member of the MSN group. The anchor wrote a song for her and shot a music video. The anchor big is so awesome. I must like it and throw 100 fish balls. So handsome. So handsome. So handsome. So handsome. The night before yesterday, Lu Chen issued an announcement in the live broadcast room, Post Bar and QQ group, saying that there would be a live broadcast this morning. Therefore, even on a Monday morning, the number of online viewers was still quite considerable. And it was still increasing, making people unable to help but sigh at the strength of the fans. As a member of the fans, Meng Meng squatted in the bathroom, holding the mobile phone with both hands, watching Lu Chen in the video, staring at Mu Xiaoqiu, watching him finish playing the song, watching him smile at the camera. She was a little silly. Until the bell for class suddenly rang. Oh no. Meng Meng quickly stood up, pressed the off button in a hurry, pushed the door open and hurried out of the bathroom. On the way to the classroom, she clearly felt that her eyes were black and her head was dizzy. Recently, Meng Meng's health was not very good, and she was a little anemic. It was probably because of the numbness from squatting, and the blood circulation was not smooth enough. Meng Meng thought and hurried back to her seat before the teacher entered the door. Fortunately, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Her desk mate asked curiously, "Meng Meng, where did you go? Why is your face so ugly?" She suddenly screamed, pointed at Meng Meng and shouted, "You have a nosebleed." Meng Meng instinctively reached out and touched it under her nose. Her fingers touched the sticky liquid, which was still warm. She was stunned, and then she felt dizzy and didn't know anything. When she was in a coma, Meng Meng heard her desk mate shouting her name loudly. She was very anxious. In the evening, Beijing Auditorium. It had just gotten dark, and at least 60% of the seats in the auditorium, which could accommodate 1,000 people, were occupied. The audience was basically students of Beijing, and there were also a few teachers. Many of them were notified to cooperate with Flying Stone Records to shoot the last scene of the MV. Many people came purely to watch the fun. Everyone was a little curious when they heard that Lu Chen, the champion of singing China, and the founder of campus folk songs, was present. There were very few students in Beijing who chased after stars, but there were still some. For the needs of the shooting, the stage of the auditorium has been refurbished, with a long banner of the graduation party hanging on the top, and the background of the large LED screen changing blurred colors. Mu Xiaoqiu and two classmates' best friends were sitting in the audience, and a spotlight was falling on her. But people's real focus was on Lu Chen. Lu Chen changed into a simple t-shirt and jeans. He sat there with his guitar in his arms and was about to start performing. For Lu Chen, shooting a MV was only a little more difficult than shooting a commercial. A lot of content was shot today. He and Mu Xiaoqiu met in the music classroom, met in the library, bumped into each other in the restaurant, and met each other in the garden. Although there was no holding hands, no kissing, and no intimate scenes, they only communicated with eyes and music. This didn't pose a problem to Lu Chen at all. The shooting process was very smooth and there were very few NGs, so Big sped up the progress. After shooting the last scene, they could call it a day and go home. The existence of hundreds of extras on the stage only added a little more pressure to Lu Chen. He plucked the strings lightly and played the prelude skillfully. Most of the people present understood music, and many of them had heard this song before, so they recognized it immediately. Those Flowers. Lu Chen first sang the song, Those Flowers, at the graduation party of Jianghai University. Later, he also sang it in the Singing China competition and won a very high score. But this work really became popular because the video of the graduation party singing it was spread on the internet. There were a lot of young people, especially students, high school students and college students, especially those who were about to graduate. They liked this song very much. Many people played and sang Those Flowers at their school's graduation party. It could always move those sentimental girls. Therefore, Those Flowers had the nickname, Graduation Divine Song. Countless people have heard this song. And now, hundreds of Beijing students were listening to the original version of Those Flowers. That laughter reminds me of my flowers, blooming quietly for me in every corner of my life. I thought I would stay by her side forever. Today we have left in the vast sea of people. Are they all old? Where are they? Just like this, we run to the ends of the world. Blah. I miss her. Blah. Is she still blooming? Blah. Go. They have been blown away by the wind and scattered to the ends of the world. A touch of sadness, a touch of nostalgia, whispering and singing about the past. The auditorium became very quiet, with only Lu Chen's singing echoing. Those who were able to be admitted to Beijing were all top students in their professions. They usually received music training from an early age and put in countless painstaking efforts, as well as talent and luck to be able to sit here. Therefore they were proud. Although the teachers and students of Beijing present did not despise Lu Chen, they always felt a little condescending sense of superiority or disapproval. However, now that they had seen Lu Chen play the guitar with their own eyes and heard him sing with their own ears, even the most picky person could not accept his talent and the power in his singing. Some stories haven't been told yet, so let's forget about it. Those feelings have been difficult to distinguish between true and false over the years. Now there are weeds and no flowers here. Fortunately, I once had your spring and autumn, winter and summer. Blah. I miss her. Blah. Is she still blooming? Blah. Go. They have been blown away by the wind and scattered to the ends of the world. Are they all old? Where are they? Just like this, we run to the ends of the world. In the audience, Mu Xiaochu sat motionless and a camera was shooting at her. Her eyes were sparkling and there was a smile on her face. She stared at Lu Chen like this without the slightest shyness. This was different from the requirements of the MV script, but director Fang Hui did not call for a stop. She just let the cameraman keep shooting like this. She had shot so many MVs, but she had never forgotten her job duties like this. Immersed in the atmosphere of the scene. At the same time, thousands of miles away in Ningyuan City, in the ICU ward of the First People's Hospital, Meng Meng, who was hooked up to an intravenous drip, was lying on the hospital bed and sleeping soundly. Her mother was sitting by the bed, holding a test sheet in her hand, tears streaming down her face, but she tried hard not to cry. Chapter 208. The music video of Not Yet Lovers was shot in the Northern Conservatory of Music for 2 days. Originally, they could have finished shooting the required content in 1 day, but Fang Hui felt very good, so she added more scenes. As a result, they shot a few more scenes. In the end, she still wanted to say more, regretting that the preparation this time was not enough. Lu Chen didn't care. Shooting music video was a very new experience for him. Even Mo Ran in the dream world had never shot a music video, let alone himself. He felt it was very interesting. His biggest gain was not finding the feeling of shooting, but getting to know Fang Hui. Fang Hui was a very characteristic female director. She was in her 40s this year. She looked ordinary and even a little ugly, but she had a very delicate heart and had a unique understanding of that kind of hazy youth love. There was not much plot content in the music video, and Fang Hui grasped it very well. She was not very famous in the circle, but the strength and talent of the director were beyond doubt. It was undoubtedly the right decision for Flying Stone Records to invite this master to shoot MSN's first main music video. During the shooting process, Lu Chen communicated with Fang Hui and was also greatly impressed. Fang Hui had a very good impression of Lu Chen. This kind of good impression was like a talent scout who found a fine horse, or a sculptor who found a peerless unpolished jade. She couldn't help but reveal some of her thoughts. At present, the domestic film market was showing a trend of change. After more than 10 years of baptism and impact of foreign commercial blockbusters, the domestic audience had begun to get tired of the popcorn movies that relied on special effects and CG. The affluent life brought by economic prosperity could not fill the spiritual needs. When visual feast became synonymous with boredom, people yearned for a higher level of pursuit. As a result, many films with rich characteristics and connotations such as nostalgic films, youth films and comedies, gradually occupied a part of the market and were flourishing and promising. Fang Hui was aiming at the youth film market. She wanted to shoot a low-budget youth film at the end of this year and the beginning of next year, which would be released on Valentine's Day in 2016. But the problem was that Fang Hui could pull up a team and pull in a few investments, but she had not been able to find a suitable theme. Or more accurately, a script that could make her heart palpitate. Fang Hui felt that if she could determine the script, then Lu Chen was one of her ideal male lead candidates. Fang Hui was extremely satisfied with Lu Chen's appearance and acting skills. Of course, for now her thoughts were still on paper. Maybe she would give up for one reason or another. Maybe she found a suitable script, but Lu Chen might not be the right protagonist. Fang Hui didn't promise anything to Lu Chen. The two sides happily exchanged contact information. Lu Chen kept this matter in mind. But for Lu Chen now, filming a movie was not important. What was important was that he was going home. The day after filming the MV for Not Yet Lovers, Lu Chen and Lu Shi returned to Binhai together. He had returned to his real home. Ah. Fang Yun, who was cutting vegetables in the kitchen, heard the sound of the key opening the door. She turned her head and saw Lu Chen and Lu Shi coming in. She couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, "Why are you back?" The kitchen knife almost cut her finger. Lu Chen, who was the first to enter the door, smiled and said, "Mom, my sister and I are here to give you a surprise." In fact, it was not just a surprise. There was a platter concert in Hangzhou on October 18th. He would sing 2 songs on stage as an invited singer, and the contract for the performance was signed last week. The so-called platter concert was a concert that many singers and artists were organized by performance companies or agencies to hold together, and the remuneration was calculated according to their position. Compared with the high-end solo singing, the risk of a platter concert was much lower, and it was more recognized by the audience. At present, this market cake was very big. Basically, most singers had participated in one or more platter concerts, and some artists even specialized in grabbing platters, and made a lot of money. The performance contract that Lu Shi signed for Lu Chen was not high, only 150,000 yuan, but it was still in line with his current status in the circle, slightly lower. However, because the place of the performance was in Hangzhou, which could be regarded as half of Lu Chen's home ground, and the organizers included Zhidong Satellite TV, Lu Shi did not hesitate to make the decision. In fact, during this period of time, there were a lot of performance companies that approached Lu Chen's studio, and Lu Shi just did not accept them. Lu Chen's position was not that kind of second or third-rate singer. Since he was going to sing in Hangzhou, he must first go home to see, so there was today's surprise. Big brother? Lu Shui came out of the room and screamed and flew into Lu Chen's arms. Her relationship with Lu Chen was much better than before. Because Lu Chen secretly gave Lu Shui a lot of pocket money, and with Lu Chen's growing fame coupled with her beauty, she was almost a star in school, and even the teachers looked at her differently. Look, this is Lu Chen's sister. Who is Lu Chen? You don't know Lu Chen? He's the one who sang "You Who Sat Next to Me," those flowers, in the night sky. Ah, she's Lu Chen's sister. These discussions greatly satisfied the vanity of the little girl. Her recent life had been very comfortable, and there was a smile on her face every day. Although Lu Shui was not that kind of superficial girl, after experiencing the changes in her family, she understood that these beautiful things were not easy to come by. She hugged Lu Chen tightly like an octopus, as if she was hugging the whole world. Lu Shi, who was behind, couldn't help rolling her eyes. Lu Shui stuck out her tongue at her sister with a proud look on her face. Lu Chen hugged his sister. Well, you've gained a lot of weight. How can that be? Hearing this, Lu Shui exploded like a kitten whose tail had been stepped on, and quickly jumped down. How can that be? Lu Chen laughed. Lu Shui felt guilty. I've gained at most 1 kilogram, not a lot. She angrily reached out to Lu Chen. Where's my gift? While the brother and sister were playing here, Fang Yun hurriedly took off her apron and said, I'm going to the supermarket to buy more food. You two, really, why didn't you call me first before coming back? Lu Chen and Lu Shi looked at each other and smiled. Lucy originally wanted to make a phone call, but Lu Chen refused. Because Lu Chen wanted to give his mother a surprise, a big surprise. Lu Shi said, Mom, I'll go with you. For Lu Chen, there was nothing happier than a family reunion and eating the food made by his mother. With the help of Lu Shi, Fang Yun made a table full of dishes. By the time they started to eat, it was already dark. Lu Shi opened a bottle of red wine bought from the supermarket and poured it for Fang Yun, Lu Chen and herself. Even Lu Shui had half a glass. Fang Yun's eyes were red. Only when you've lost something will you know how precious it is. In the past, it was very common for the family to eat together all day. Now that Lu Chen and Lu Shi are working hard in Beijing, such days will not be much in the foreseeable future. The atmosphere in the small living room was a little depressed. Lu Shui was very smart. She quickly said to Lu Chen, Brother, you have to give me a few more autographs. My classmates want them. Lu Chen said with a smile, You've told me 10 times. This time I brought a lot of CDs back. Just give them records. Lu Chen handed over the recording and discovery of the CD album, You Who Sat Next to Me, to Flying Stone Records. Before he came to Binhai, all the CDs had been produced, and the peripheral products were also in the process of being produced. So he brought back dozens of them. Lu Shui was overjoyed. Great. She leaned over and kissed Lu Chen on the face. Brother is so nice. Lu Chen said in disgust, It's all oil. Fang Yun and Lu Shi both laughed, and the depressed atmosphere just now disappeared. Lu Shui glared at her brother and asked curiously, Brother, is it true that you and Chen Fei are together? The scandal between Lu Chen and Chen Fei has been on the entertainment headlines, and Fang Yun and Lu Shui certainly know about it. Fang Yun was very happy, but it turned out to be an empty joy. Lu Shui didn't give up. She thought that if she had a heavenly queen as her sister-in-law, it would be so cool and beautiful. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Didn't I refute the rumor long ago? I just have a cooperation with Chen Fei. You're a child. Just take care of your studies. Don't ask about adult affairs. Lu Shui muttered, I'm already 18 years old. Lu Chen was afraid that she would be long-winded again, so he said to Fang Yun, Mom, I made a sum of money from selling shares, so this time I came back to pay off all the family's debts. Platter. The chopsticks in Fang Yun's hand fell on the table. she said in surprise. What did you say? She couldn't believe her ears. Lu, she said softly, Mom, it's true. Lu Qin has opened a company with others. Now the company is selling shares in value. The money earned can not only pay off our debts but also redeem our villa. Fang Yun was completely speechless. At that time, Lu Qingxing borrowed 15 million yuan from his relatives and friends because of business difficulties. Later he went bankrupt and only paid back 5 million yuan, leaving her and her 3 children with a huge debt of nearly 10 million yuan. Fang Yun gritted her teeth and shouldered this debt. She used to think that her family wouldn't be able to pay off the debt in their lifetime. She didn't expect that Lu Qin would suddenly embark on the path of an entertainment star after going to Beijing for a year, and remitted more than 2 million yuan. Now there was still 7 million in debt. Lu Shi knew the situation. Now Lu Shi actually said that she could pay it all off and redeem the villa that had been taken away by the bank. How much did Lu Qin earn? Fang Yun really can't believe it, it's as unreal as a dream. Lu Shui's thoughts were simple. She jumped up directly. Really? We can move back. In that villa there were the best memories of her life. Lu Qin touched his sister's head lovingly. Of course it's true. We can go home. This had always been his dream. He originally thought that it would never be realized. Later he firmly believed that it could be achieved in 2 or 3 years at most. Now, the clouds parted to see the moon. Chapter 209. Lu Qin sold a total of 41% of Mucan crowdfunding shares to Li Mushi, or the Li family. The total amount of the transaction was 25 million. Then after deducting taxes, lawyers' fees, notarization fees and other miscellaneous fees, he finally got 17.5 million. This money was more than enough to pay off the debt, but to redeem his family's original villa, it really wasn't enough. Although Binhai was a 4th-tier county-level city, because it was located in the economically developed coastal area of eastern Zhejiang, the housing price was quite high. The average price was 15,000 plus, and buying a decent big house often cost 2 or 3 million. And the villa that the Lu family had originally taken away by the bank, in the best Jingsheng district in Binhai City, the current market price was definitely more than 10 million, conservatively estimated to be about 12 million. So when he came back this time, Lu Qin asked Lu Shi to transfer another sum of money from the studio's account. He almost emptied the account. But this villa that originally belonged to the Lu family, he must take it back. In that big house, there were too many joys and sorrows that belonged to this family as well as countless memories. Before, Lu Qin couldn't do anything about it, but now that he had earned the money, he wouldn't let himself regret it. Fortunately, this house has not been auctioned off by the bank so far. The reason was not that the bank didn't want to sell it, but that the previous few auctions were unsuccessful. A villa of 12 million was not something that anyone could afford to sell casually. With this money one could buy a very good house in Beijing. It was true that Binhai was rich, but the really rich didn't have to worry about a place to live. The most important thing was that the Lu family's business had an accident, and Lu Qingxing died of illness in the villa. For those who could afford it, it was undoubtedly a big taboo. As for the bank, the current real estate market was booming, and housing prices were rising. Naturally, they were unwilling to sell this rare property at a low price, so it was delayed. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, it should have been sold long ago, and it wouldn't have been Lu Chen's turn to redeem it. When Lu Chen checked the account with his mobile phone and showed the account balance to Fang Yun, she finally believed it. Fang Yun's heart was filled with emotions. She was pleasantly surprised and didn't know what to say. What made her happiest was not paying off the debt and redeeming the house, but that Lu Qin had truly grown up and could become the pillar that supported the Lu family. Fang Yun believed that Lu Qingxing's spirit in heaven could rest in peace. The corners of her eyes overflowed with tears of joy, excitement and sadness. Seeing this, Lu Qin raised his glass and said, "Come. Let's have a toast and wish our family a brighter future." Lu Shui couldn't wait to raise her glass. Cheers. Fang Yun wiped her tears and raised her glass. Cheers. 4 crystal-clear wine glasses gently collided with each other, and the dark red wine rippled with fragmented light. He believed that the future would be even better. Lu Qin and Lu Shi lived in Binhai for 4 days, mainly to accompany Fang Yun to pay off the debt and redeem the house. Paying off the debt was actually very simple. The small part had already been paid off and the rest were all large ones. They directly transferred the money with their mobile phones, and then sent a gift to express their gratitude. In the past few years, the Lu family had owed so much money, and there were only a few people who really came to the door to press for the debt. Everyone knew that the Lu family really couldn't pay off the debt, not that they didn't want to. Some creditors even gave up the idea of pursuing the debt. Now, it could be said that they had gained a pleasant surprise. The Liu family had finally come out of trouble. The process of redeeming the house was a little more troublesome, but the Liu family still had acquaintances in the bank. When the business was difficult, they couldn't help, but now it was much easier to redeem the house with money. On the fourth morning after Lu Qin returned to Binhai, he got the door key of the villa. The retransfer procedures were still being processed, but that was not the point. Returning to Jingsheng district and coming to the villa where he had lived for many years, Lu Qin's mood couldn't be described in words. Excitement, joy, and even a little timidity. Jingsheng district was the best district in Binhai city. Although it was built very early, whether it was the geographical location or the surrounding environment, it couldn't be compared to the newly developed real estate in recent years. Therefore, the housing prices here were very expensive. The price of second-hand houses was big, much higher than the new houses in other places. The Liu family's single-family villa was purchased in 2002. At that time it was considered cheap. It only cost a little more than 1 million. Including the renovation, the total cost was a little more than 2 million, and the area was 350 square meters. Lu Qin had lived in this house for a whole 10 years. He and Lu Shui could be said to have grown up in this villa, and they were very familiar with every grass and every tree. It was just that no one had taken care of it in the past 2 years. The private garden in front of the villa was full of weeds, climbing vines could be seen everywhere, and even the doors and windows showed signs of damage. Fortunately, the door could still be opened. A smell of old moldy dust hit him in the face. The furniture and furnishings in the living room were still there, all covered with dust-proof white cloth, including the piano that Lu Qin received as a gift on his 13th birthday. It seemed that time had frozen here. Everything brought countless memories to Lu Qin. Even if the ground was covered with a thick layer of dust, Fang Yun, Lu Shi, and Lu Shui who came back with Lu Qin were very happy. This was their real home. Lu Shui didn't care about the dirt and dust. She quickly ran up the stairs and rushed to her room. A string of laughter like silver bells sprinkled down. Lu Qin smiled and said, "Mom, I think it's better to redecorate it first. It's simple and doesn't cost a lot of money." Fang Yun's idea was to find someone to clean it. After all, they had spent too much money recently, and it was better to save as much as possible. She shook her head and said, "Let's talk about it later." Lu Qin gave Lu Shi a look and let her sister persuade his mother. He went straight to the piano, lifted the white cloth and sat down on the piano stool. Lifting the cover, Lu Qin gently pressed the piano keys. This piano had been bought for nearly 10 years. In fact, he rarely practiced it and it was just a big toy. Now the sound of the piano was still the same, but the people had changed. After sitting up straight, Lu Qin began to play seriously. At this moment here he had a song he wanted to sing to his mother and his late father. His mother who gave everything for this family. "You leave quietly, step by step, lonely figure. I want to accompany you, tell you how much I love you in my heart. Flowers bloom quietly in the night when I suddenly miss you. I want to tell you, in fact, you have always been my miracle. Year after year, the wind and frost cover your smile. Who else can understand your lonely heart? Is it spring flowers and autumn moon heartless? Spring leaves and autumn comes, your love is silent. You give me all your love, you give me the world. From then on, I don't know the pain and joy in your heart. I want to be close to you, nestling in your warm and lonely arms, tell you that I have always understood you. I want to tell you your loneliness and my heartache are together." The name of this song was Understand You. In Lu Qin's dream world, it was an episode of a movie. It expressed the child's nostalgia and love for his parents. The wind and frost of the fleeting years mercilessly dyed the mother's black hair white. Year after year, spring leaves and autumn comes, winter comes and summer comes. The children are fully fledged and have a sky of their own, but also exhausted most of the mother's life. The white hair and frost on the temples could not cover her smile. It was the mother's life that only knew, "Give me all your love, give me the world," without a trace of enjoyment. The mother was used to silent dedication and she never thought about repaying. And when the children let go of their dreams, have they ever forgotten to walk into their mother's heart and understand the world of their mother's mind? When the family changed and his father died of illness, Lu Qin seemed to fall into the dust overnight. At that time he had hatred and resentment. At that time, Lu Qin did not understand why Fang Yun wanted to bear all the huge debts by herself. In the traditional view, when a person dies, the debts disappear. After all, it was Lu Qingxing who wrote the IOU. But now Lu Qin has fully understood that Fang Yun chose to face and bear all this because she did not want the Lu family to bear the stigma of ingratitude. She did not want her father to be cursed and hated after his death. She was telling herself that a person should know how to be grateful and stick to morality and conscience. Thinking back to those relatives and friends who received the debts, the joy and relief on their faces, he really understood. Fang Yun and Lu Shi stood side by side in the living room, quietly listening to Lu Qin play and sing this song. They had never heard it before, but they both understood the lyrics. Fang Yun smiled, but her tears couldn't stop flowing down, wetting her clothes little by little. She knew that Lu Qin sang this song for her. She felt that all the efforts of her life had been repaid at this moment. Clap, clap, clap. When Lu Qin finished playing the last note, applause suddenly came from the gate. No one knew when, but a lot of people gathered at the gate, and they were all the neighbors of the Lu family. They had lived in the house for about the same time as the Lu family, and they had known the Lu family for a long time. They had a good relationship with each other and knew the changes that the Lu family had gone through. Everyone thought that the Lu family would never come back, but they did not expect to see them again. Everyone was attracted by the sound of the piano and Lu Chen's singing. The villa, which had been quiet for several years, suddenly became lively. Fang Yun and Lu Shi greeted the neighbors with a smile, telling them that they had redeemed the house and would soon move back. Of course, the neighbors congratulated them warmly. It was really not easy for the Lu family to turn around. And Lu Qin, who had become a celebrity in Binhai, naturally received the most attention. There was even someone who wanted to be a matchmaker for him on the spot, selling him the daughters and nieces of the 7th aunt and the 8th aunt. In this regard, Lu Qin could only run away. The next day, October 18th, he and Lu Shi took the high-speed train to Hangzhou. They were going to perform that night. Note, understand you lyrics, Huang Xiaomao / composer, Shuirui Guang. As long as a lot of celebrities were invited, it was very common to roll out a red carpet at a brand promotional event and invite media reporters to take photos to create a gimmick. Everyone was already used to it. The Shizi Cultural Festival concert was no exception. Nearly 30 stars could support a red carpet show. Of course, the prestige of walking the red carpet had dropped, but the basic rules had never changed. That was to sort them according to their status. The one with the highest status would go first. Lu Qin was lined up in the 12th car with another female star, Bai Wei, walking the red carpet with him. Bai Wei was an actress. She had been in the industry for 5 or 6 years and had appeared in many TV shows. Lu Chen's impression of her was that of a supporting actress in an urban TV series. She was pretty and had good acting skills. The man was not very famous, but he had a rather cold temper. After he sat in the car, he nodded at Lu Qin as a greeting. He did not respond to the latter's polite greeting. He scrolled through his mobile phone. Since the other party's attitude is cold, of course, Lu Qin will not ask for a snub and stick his hot face to someone else's cold butt. It was just that the atmosphere in the car was a little awkward. Fortunately, it was very close to the stadium from the hotel he stayed in, so he did not have to wait too long. The welcome car that Lu Qin took stopped steadily at the beginning of the red carpet. The on-site staff in black suits helped open the door, and Lu Qin immediately got out of the car. Ka, ka, ka. The flashes from the surrounding flashed instantly, which made him more or less startled. There were simply too many people. The red carpet in front of Lu Qin to the main entrance of the stadium was almost 50 meters long, which was of a very high standard. The two sides of the red carpet passage were separated by security fences. Behind the fences there were countless people. There were also fluorescent signs held high, shining with the names of different star artists. Naturally, there were many reporters and photographers in the crowd. Long and short cameras were everywhere, and there were countless camera phones. Walking on the red carpet really made people's blood boil. It was as if all the glory was gathered in one person, and it was a great sense of accomplishment. Bai Wei's attitude in the car was cold, but when she started to walk on the red carpet, she seemed to be a completely different person. She smiled like a spring breeze, and from time to time she stopped to make a pose, showing off her Hermes dress. That night, Lu Qin dressed very formally. An Armani suit set off his perfect figure, and with his confident and calm posture, he also attracted a lot of attention from the cameras. This suit was picked out for him by Lu Shi last night. His sister had good taste. Although they were walking the same red carpet, Lu Qin and Bai Wei actually walked their own paths. They minded their own business. There was at least a meter between the two of them, so safe that there would be no gossip. Lu Qin. Lu Qin. Just as Lu Qin walked more than half the distance, he suddenly heard someone shouting his name. He couldn't help but turn his head and see several female fans trying to squeeze in front of the fence. Ignoring the scolding of the security guards, they shouted at him excitedly, "Lu Chen, I love you." Lu Chen was stunned at first and then he was a little moved. These fans were very young, probably girls who were still in school. They were all squeezed in the crowd and their hair and clothes were messy. They looked quite embarrassed, but they still tightly held the fluorescent signs with Lu Chen's name in their hands. They waved at him with all their might. Without hesitation, Lu Chen walked straight to them and said with a smile, "Hello." Several girls suddenly screamed in surprise, their faces flushed with excitement. One of the girls stammered, Lu Chen, can I have your autograph?" Lu Chen said with a smile, "Of course, do you have a pen? Where do you want to sign?" The girls didn't expect that not only did they summon Lu Chen, but also Lu Chen's attitude was so kind. They were also prepared. Not only did they immediately take out their autograph pens, but they also lifted their t-shirts. "Sign here, sign here." Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he still satisfied their request and signed his name on the t-shirt. After signing, several girls became bolder and asked for a group photo. "Mr. Lu Chen?" Unfortunately, the security guards who maintained order at the scene had objections because many people were crowding over here. Lu Chen quickly made an apologetic gesture and then quickly returned to the red carpet. He could only let these girls down. On such an occasion he could interact with the fans closely, but he must not stay too long. Otherwise it would be easy to get into trouble. It was also because his status was not high enough that he could sign. If it were Li Xing he would probably be killed. So sometimes it was not that the stars deliberately put on airs, but for safety reasons. After walking the red carpet smoothly, Lu Chen walked to the welcome desk and left his name on the autograph wall. Then there were reporters taking photos and a simple interview with Zhidong Satellite TV. The person in charge of interviewing the stars was a program host of Zhidong Satellite TV, named Tian Tian. The host graduated from Media University of China and joined the satellite TV for only a year. Because of her beautiful voice, she became a well-known female anchor. The music and food programs she hosted had quite high ratings, and she was very popular on the internet. She was known as the first beautiful host of Zhidong Satellite TV. Tian Tian was very young. In terms of appearance and temperament alone, she was better than several second-tier and third-tier female stars on the scene. Especially when she smiled, two shallow dimples appeared on her cheeks. When it was Lu Chen's turn, she first shook hands with Lu Chen generously and then asked, "Lu Chen, everyone knows that you are from Binhai, and you are still a university student in Hangzhou. How do you feel about going back to your hometown to sing on stage this time?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "I'm very happy to be able to sing for my fellow countrymen in Hangzhou. Tonight, I will try my best to sing to my best level and promise not to let everyone down." Walking the red carpet and taking photos and interviews were all arranged by the organizing committee, including the questions raised by the female host. Lu Chen could just read the answers he had prepared in advance. Tian Tian said with a smile, "Then I wish you a success in singing tonight, and I hope to hear your singing here in the future." Lu Chen nodded, "Thank you." After the interview, the big photo of the stars was also completed, and the staff on the scene began to guide everyone to the staff passage. The staff passage led to the backstage dressing room in the stadium, and the time for the official performance was coming. The host, Tian Tian, followed the staff in front, followed by the cameraman, and then Lu Chen and two other artists who walked down the stairs together. At this time, in the crowd of onlookers more than 10 meters away, a man suddenly jumped over the security fence and jumped into the forbidden zone, while the security guard was not on guard. The man was wearing a dark brown windbreaker and a mask on his face. He was originally holding a fluorescent card in his hand, but when he jumped over the fence, he directly threw it away and rushed straight over. While running, the man took out a glass bottle from his pocket and skillfully unscrewed the cap. His eyes were fixed on Tian Tian, and there was a crazy flame in his eyes. Because it happened so fast, it was not until the man in the windbreaker rushed to within 4 or 5 meters of Tian Tian that the star artist who had just walked down the welcome stage reacted. Exclamations and screams rang out at the same time. The staff member who was walking at the front was scared out of his wits. He instinctively stepped back. He just hit the cameraman. The scene was in chaos. Chapter 211. Even if you haven't eaten pork, you've seen pigs running. No one present had a low IQ. The man in the jacket was menacing. He wore a mask and had a fierce look in his eyes. He held a glass bottle in his hand, which instantly made everyone have a terrible association: sulfuric acid disfigurement. It was not uncommon for sulfuric acid disfigurement to occur because of emotional disputes or other grievances. Moreover, there were victims among the artists in the entertainment industry. The intention of this man was already very obvious. It was because of distinguishing the malice of the other party that everyone felt extraordinarily terrible. The stories that they used to see in the news were about to happen in front of them. How could they not be afraid? Therefore, whether it was those who had just walked down the stage or those who were walking up the stairs, whether it was men or women, almost all of them screamed in fear and involuntarily took a few steps back, trying to avoid the disaster that might befall them. Even if they were not the target, being accidentally injured would be a great disaster, and even lead to the destruction of their future. It was human nature to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. The people on and off the stage were in chaos in an instant. Tian Tian, who was stared at by the man in the jacket, had a blank mind. Intuition told her that the other party was coming for her, and what he held in his hand was sulfuric acid that could cause disfigurement. She should run away immediately. However, Tian Tian was so shocked and scared that she couldn't move. She could only watch as the other person waved his arm and splashed the liquid in the glass bottle at her. It's over. Tian Tian closed her eyes helplessly. But the terrible disaster did not fall on her. At this critical moment, a black suit jacket flew through the air and blocked in front of Tian Tian, catching the liquid spilled out of the glass bottle. It was Lu Qin who saved Tian Tian. The only one who could remain calm at the scene here was Lu Qin. Just now, when the man in the jacket jumped over the railing and rushed over, he felt that something was wrong. When others retreated to dodge, Lu Qin suddenly stretched out his arms, arched his back and clenched his fists. The Armani suit worth more than 10,000 yuan was instantly shaken off his body. This move was called Overlord's armor removal. It was used to escape when the clothes on the body were caught by the opponent. The reason Lu Qin threw off his clothes was because he saw his opponent trying to injure Tian Tian. He definitely couldn't use his own body to block it. Lu Qin's reaction was extremely fast. The Overlord strip armor could also be said to be exquisite, blocking all the liquid. Sizzle, when the liquid spilled by the man in the jacket collided with the suit, it was immediately absorbed by the material and fell to the ground. Under the violent corrosion, it sizzled and emitted white smoke. There was a choking smell in the air. Sure enough, it was sulfuric acid, and it was a very concentrated sulfuric acid. If one were to be splashed on the face, disfigurement would be considered a light punishment. If it was serious, it could be fatal. After shaking out his suit, Lu Qin kept rushing forward, put his backhand around the willow waist of Tian Tian, who was as dumb as a wooden chicken, and protected her behind him. He was facing the perpetrator himself. The man in the jacket didn't expect Lu Qin to appear halfway and destroy his plan. He was obviously stunned and immediately retracted his hand and grabbed into his pocket, trying to grab something out. But Lu Qin's movements were faster. As soon as his front foot landed on the ground, he lifted his back foot, twisted his waist sideways and made a beautiful side spin kick, hitting the man's neck. Boom. Lu Qin hated the other party's cruelty and shamelessness, so he used enough strength in this kick and immediately kicked the man in the jacket down and he fell heavily to the ground. At the same time, several security personnel, as if awakened from a dream, flew over and pressed the man in the jacket to the ground. In fact, the latter had been knocked out by Lu Qin's kick. Countless flashes lit up, and the reporters on the scene and onlookers who reacted were taking pictures. Something big happened. Lu Qin withdrew his leg and turned to Tian Tian and said, "It's all right." The beautiful host's face was pale to the extreme and her eyes were dazed. Obviously, she hadn't recovered from the state of fear, and her whole body was trembling involuntarily. Lu Qin held her hand and said in a serious tone, "It's really all right. You don't have to be afraid. Wow." Before Lu Qin finished speaking, Tian Tian suddenly threw herself into his arms and cried loudly. In an instant, his arms were full of warmth and softness. Lu Qin, ah! He hugged her and wanted to push her away, but the other party held on tightly so he couldn't push her away. As a result, he hesitated for a moment, and he didn't know how many photos were taken. This incident. Lu Qin didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and he was also a little scared. If his reaction was half a second slower, the bottle of sulfuric acid would most likely have been poured on Tian Tian. So he could still understand the other party's feelings. But holding on like this was not a good thing. Fortunately, Tian Tian quickly came to her senses and quickly let go of Lu Qin, sobbing, "Thank you." She was really very grateful to Lu Qin. At this time, a large number of security personnel and staff rushed over, and the scene was even more chaotic. Tian Tian's colleagues also came, comforting her and quickly taking her away from the scene. and Lu Qin, together with other star artists, entered the stadium under the guidance of the staff. What happened just now was so shocking that many people were still in shock. They were not in the mood to put on makeup and prepare for the performance backstage. Everyone took out their mobile phones to make calls or send messages. Lu Shi, who had been backstage for a long time, asked in surprise, "Little Qin, what happened?" At this time the backstage was really a scene of doomsday. Lu Qin said with a wry smile, "Don't mention it." He told his sister what had just happened. There was no need to hide it. It was estimated that it would not take long for the whole country to know. The organizer had lost face. Even whether the concert could be held smoothly in the evening was estimated to be a bit of a problem. After listening to it, Lu Shi's face turned pale and she said angrily, "You are too bold. You dare to go up like this." She couldn't imagine the consequences of Lu Chen's accident. Lu Chen explained, "I can't watch others be harmed, can I?" In fact, at that time, Lu Chen didn't think too much about it. No matter who the other party was, he would come forward to help. "That's also," Lu Shi nodded, "that person is terrible." She was also a woman, so she understood the result of being disfigured. She sympathized with Tian Tian and hated the assailant even more. She should be sentenced to death. Lu Chen couldn't help laughing. It was impossible to sentence her to death. He just didn't know what the motive of the other party was. "Excuse me, are you Lu Chen?" At this time a group of people came over in a crowd. The leaders were a handsome man and a beautiful woman. They were the two biggest artists of tonight's concert, Li Xing and Lu Zhonghan. Beside and behind the two were assistants and several other star artists. Everyone looked at Lu Chen with admiration in their eyes. Lu Chen quickly stood up and said, "Hello, Sister Li, Brother Lu. I'm Lu Chen." Lu Zhonghan was nearly 40 years old, but he took good care of himself. He looked like he was in his 20s. His appearance was very handsome, a little mixed race, but he was a little short. He took the initiative to extend his hand to Lu Chen. "It was really thanks to you just now. You are very good at martial arts." At the time of the accident, Lu Zhonghan was on the welcome stage and saw the whole process clearly. He admired Lu Chen very much. Li Xing said with a smile, "Xiao Lu is very brave." She didn't see the incident happen with her own eyes, but after listening to others she also had a lingering fear. Such a thing was terrible and she also had a lot of crazy fans. Lu Chen said modestly, "You flatter me too much. I was also hot-headed. Now that I think about it, I feel scared." Everyone laughed and the atmosphere became a lot more relaxed. Li Xing said with a smile, "Xiao Lu is very modest. In fact, no one wants to see such a thing happen. Now the situation is a little troublesome, but we artists who come to perform can't mess up. So I discussed it with Brother Zhonghan and suggested that everyone keep calm and finish the performance well. Otherwise we will be sorry to the audience." Lu Chen said, "I absolutely support it." With the two big names, Li Xing and Lu Zhonghan, coming forward to preside over the overall situation, and the high-level organizers also rushed over, the people in the backstage dressing room quickly stabilized. Not long after, people from the Hangzhou municipal government, Zhidong Satellite TV and the Hangzhou police arrived. As the person involved, Lu Chen also made a statement to the police. The party was delayed for half an hour, but all the programs were performed on stage. Lu Chen appeared at 9:27 and sang "You Who Sat Next to Me" and "The Brightest Star in the Night Sky," which were two famous songs and won warm applause from the audience. Especially "You Who Sat Next to Me," when he sang to the climax, many audience members also sang along. Overall, the performance process was uneventful and everything went smoothly. But at the same time on the internet there was a ruckus. Because there were too many onlookers at the scene, the whole process of the assault of the man in the jacket and Lu Chen's interception was completely filmed, and there was more than one section. A large number of videos and photos quickly appeared on blogs, forums, post bars and QQ groups, and then spread like a virus, causing countless netizens to discuss it, and various conspiracy theories emerged one after another. Some people speculated that Tian Tian had offended someone and was being retaliated against. Some people vowed that the murderer was her ex-boyfriend, and that the acid was thrown because of emotional disputes, but others said that Tian Tian had no boyfriend at all. In short, before the police announced the results of the investigation, there were all kinds of theories. This matter quickly became a hot topic on blogs, and many people in the entertainment industry came forward to condemn the assailant. They believed that tomorrow's entertainment headlines would not be able to escape, and Lu Chen, who tried to save her, was suddenly pushed to the forefront of the struggle. Chapter 212. Before the beginning of the internet era, even if the means of communication had been very developed, the transmission of information still had great limitations, and it could easily be controlled by the authority and could not be spread out. If an earth-shattering event happened in a certain place, and if the news was controlled and the TV stations and newspapers did not report it, people in other places would often be ignorant. But the rise of the internet has changed everything. Even if the media control still exists in today's era, a rooster laying an egg in a remote mountain village thousands of miles away is very likely to appear in blogs and forums on the same day, and be known by people all over the world. This is the power of the internet. Recently, the domestic entertainment industry has been a bit calm. Since Wang Bin was arrested for drug involvement, except for the Daily Star quarrels and gossip hype, there was basically no topic that people could talk about. However, on the evening of October 18th, in front of the Westlake Stadium in Hangzhou, Lu Chen's side spin kick directly kicked out a big news, which shocked the news and public opinion circle that had been silent for a long time. The most intense reaction was undoubtedly the Waves blog, which has hundreds of millions of users. Only 10 minutes after the assailant was subdued, the first live video was posted on the blog. Then more and more photos and new videos swarmed in, accompanied by all kinds of exaggerated and frightening titles, as if a ladle of cold water had been poured on boiling oil, and it suddenly exploded. And among them, there were many official of entertainment media, adding fuel to the fire. Without any prearranged hype, this matter was hyped up by countless people, attracting a large number of star artists in the entertainment industry to comment and forward. Under normal circumstances, these artists would not be free promoters of others, but this incident was too bad, and the culprit was targeting people in the industry. Everyone could not help but feel a common hatred for the enemy, and were willing to voice their opinions. While condemning the assailant, many artists were also questioning the security measures at the scene. No one wanted the same thing to happen to them. Tian was lucky that someone happened to help her. What if Lu Chen was not present at the time, or was further away? The consequences were unimaginable. With these star artists with a large number of fans joining the topic, the keywords were quickly pushed to the homepage. The beautiful host of Zhidong Satellite TV was almost disfigured by sulfuric acid. Was it a personal grudge or an emotional dispute? The hero saves the beauty. Young singer Lu Chen takes off his clothes to block the sulfuric acid and kills the assailant with a flying kick. Exclusive reveal: the inside story of the beautiful host of Zhidong Satellite TV being splashed with acid. Too handsome. Look at the style of this kick. There are pictures to prove it. Who is Lu Chen? The ones who were the most excited were undoubtedly Lu Chen's fans. They learned about what had happened in Hangzhou City through different channels, and all of them worshipped Lu Chen. Thousands of fans have used computers and mobile phones to comment on blogs, forums, post bars and QQ groups. Brother Chen is mighty. Not only is he handsome, but he can also sing. Not only can he sing, but he can also create original songs. Not only can he create original songs, he can also fight. How are others supposed to live? From today onwards, I'm a true fan of Lu Chen. Don't stop me. I've watched this video 10 times. The more I watch, the more excited I get. Look at the performance of the others and you'll know how amazing our boss is. Yes, Lu Chen is a real man. The video that was most forwarded and commented on the blog was 2 minutes and 17 seconds long. This video should have been shot by a professional camera. Not only was the picture very clear and stable, but the camera angle was also excellent, recording the whole process of the incident from beginning to end. Through this video, everyone saw how the assailant climbed over the safety fence and rushed over. They could see the action of him taking out the sulfuric acid bottle and opening it. At the same time, they could also see the reactions of the people around him. Some were screaming, some were dodging, some were retreating, and some were stunned in place. Only Lu Chen, and only Lu Chen, did not show fear in the face of danger, and showed a high degree of calmness. He first threw out his suit with an almost inconceivable action, stopping the sulfuric acid that the assailant had spilled. Then he stepped forward to protect Tian behind him and kicked the assailant, who tried to continue to attack, to the ground, completing a wonderful and incomparable killing move. Although the video was more than 2 minutes long, in fact the core content was only a few seconds. In this process, the bravery and fearlessness that Lu Chen displayed, as well as his outstanding skills, were truly admirable. In the domestic and foreign film and television circles, there is no shortage of action stars, but few action stars have shown such strong strength in reality, not to mention Lu Chen's identity as a singer. In particular, his most critical action of throwing off his suit has attracted countless netizens to talk about it. How do you think Lu Qin did it? I tried it myself but I couldn't throw it off at all. There is no doubt that this is one of the top 10 most handsome scenes of the year. This move is called cicada shedding. You naturally don't understand it. This is ancient martial arts. Do you know what ancient martial arts are? Ancient martial arts, my ass. I think you read too many online novels, but it is really handsome. Don't say it, I must practice this move and use it to save a beauty in the future. Hee, then you have to find someone to throw sulfuric acid first. What a pity, an Armani suit worth tens of thousands is enough for me to eat for a year. The person above is an idiot. Everyone ignore him. With the increase in the number of comments, Lu Qin's fans and Waves blog showed an explosive growth. There were also those who benefited from it, such as Senki Clothing. This company, which focused on young sports brands, took the opportunity to post the commercial that Lu Qin had shot not long ago on their official V, specifically stating that Lu Qin did not use a stunt double during the shooting process, which also attracted a lot of attention. When Lu Qin finished the performance and returned to the hotel where he stayed, Lu Shi's mobile phone was exploding with calls. Some relatives and friends called to inquire, and some media asked for an interview. Most of the calls were handled by Lu Shi, but some calls Lu Qin had to reply to them himself. Big hero, you are so powerful. Sitting on the soft big bed in the hotel room, listening to the beautiful voice coming from the phone, Lu Qin felt a little itchy in his heart, as if something was going to drill out of his ears. He said with a wry smile, "Sister Fei." This call was from Chen Fei. She was now in Beijing, but she had already heard the news. Hee, Chen Fei smiled softly and said, "I mean it. Everyone says that you are very brave. If it weren't for you, then Tian would really be destroyed." At the last sentence, her voice became a little heavy. Crazy fans are the most terrible. As a heavenly queen who has been in the industry for more than 10 years, Chen Fei has countless fans, and naturally, there is no lack of unusual existences. All-star idols have been harassed by fans more or less, and there have been some outrageous things that have happened. It's just that a situation like tonight is very rare. Lu Qin was sensitive. "Are you sure that person is a fan?" Chen Fei said, "The murderer has confessed. He is a fan of Tian. He wrote many letters to Tian, but he didn't get any response. Some time ago he was detained for breaking into the TV station to woo her, so he holds a grudge." So that's how it is. Lu Qin suddenly understood. He didn't doubt the source of Chen Fei's information. The latter's status and connections in the circle were not something he could compare with. Chen Fei continued, Tian is really scared this time. Maybe she will retreat behind the scenes." Lu Qin was stunned. "You and her?" Chen Fei explained, "Yes, I have known Tian for a long time. She is my little sister." The entertainment circle can be said to be big, but it can also be said to be small. Two people who originally seem to be in different worlds may have some kind of connection, which is complicated and extensive. Chen Fei said with a smile, "I guess Tian will come to thank you in person. She is so beautiful and a top student, and she has never had a boyfriend. You saved her, so you have a chance to pursue her. Do you want me to help you?" Although it was a joking tone, it was a bit serious. Lu Qin blurted out, "I already have someone I like." Chen Fei was surprised. "Who is it?" Lu Qin regretted saying it out loud. He didn't answer and just stayed silent. But silence was the answer. Some words actually didn't need to be said. After a while, Chen Fei should have understood something. The heavenly queen said in a panic, "I have something to do. I'll hang up first. Talk to you later." Without waiting for Lu Qin to answer, she hurriedly hung up the call. Lu Qin held the phone with a busy tone and smiled bitterly. The relationship between him and Chen Fei was a bit complicated. They met because of a reality show and became friends because of music. Lu Qin knew that Chen Fei had a good impression of him. This good impression may have the friendship of a sister to a younger brother, but there was also a different meaning, just like the title song Not Yet Lovers he wrote for MSN. Lu Qin also knew that he also had a good impression of Chen Fei. He wouldn't deceive himself. But was it really possible between the two of them? Lu Qin was a little at a loss. He suddenly felt something strange and couldn't help but raise his head. He saw Lu Shi standing at the door of the room looking at him. There was a sneer on her face as if to say, "I caught you." Lu Qin broke into a cold sweat. Sister? He lived in a luxury business suite with 2 bedrooms, so he lived with his sister. Obviously the conversation between him and Chen Fei just now was heard by Lu Shi. Lu Shi didn't tease Lu Qin and said, "There is something you must pay attention to. It's very important." Her expression was very serious. Lu Chen couldn't help but get serious. He straightened up and asked, "What's the matter?" "This matter is related to one of your fans." Chapter 213. Without any accident, the entertainment headlines of the major media the next day were occupied by the sulfuric acid incident. The beautiful host of Zhidong Satellite TV, the crazy fans, and the brave Good Samaritan with extraordinary skills, all of them attracted everyone's attention. Overnight, the blog fans of Lu Chen as the person involved soared to more than 9 million. At the same time, the Hangzhou police also timely announced the results of the investigation of the case, basically confirming that this was an attempted malicious injury caused by personal reasons, and the perpetrator will be severely punished by the law. Hangzhou's local City Express also further revealed in its news headlines that the perpetrator was unemployed. Last night's action was carefully planned by him, and he had also stepped on the spot in advance and was very well prepared. The perpetrator's mentality had been distorted. He not only wanted to destroy Tian Tian, but also wanted to make big news. Tian Tian was one of the hosts of the party. It could be imagined how big a sensation it would cause if she had an accident in front of everyone. In addition to the concentrated sulfuric acid purchased from a special channel, the perpetrator also carried a controlled knife, but was stopped by Lu Chen in time, and did not cause a tragedy. While strongly condemning the perpetrator, the City Express also praised Lu Chen's bravery, calling him the pride of the men of Zhidong, and did not hesitate to praise him. This made Lu Chen, who saw the newspaper when he got up to eat breakfast in the morning, feel very ashamed. The trouble was that a lot of media reporters came to the hotel where Lu Chen stayed, all of whom wanted to interview him. They were temporarily blocked in the hall by the hotel security. "Lu," she said with a smile, "are you considered to have become famous with a kick?" Lu Chen was speechless. At this time, the door of the living room was knocked lightly. "Huh?" She was a little surprised because she had already told the hotel that she didn't want to be disturbed, especially by reporters. She went over and opened the door. She saw a group of people standing at the door and Tian Tian was among them. The well-known female anchor of Zhidong Satellite TV had a haggard face, her eyes were swollen like walnuts, and the dark circles under her eyes looked like smoky makeup, but it couldn't hide her natural beauty, giving people a feeling of pitifulness. There were men and women who came with her, old and middle-aged, and a policewoman in uniform. The ingredients seemed to be very complicated. Seeing Lu Shi opening the door, Tian Tian was stunned and asked cautiously, "Excuse me, is Mr. Lu Chen here?" Lu Shi smiled and said, "Yes, please come in." She understood Tian Tian's feelings very well. Any girl who encountered such a thing might not be able to perform better. This female streamer probably didn't even sleep last night. "Thank you." Tian Tian thanked him politely and asked as she walked into the room, "May I ask who you are?" Lu Shi explained, "I'm Lu Chen's agent, Lu Shi, and also his sister." Tian Tian quickly said, "Hello, Sister Lu Shi." Lu Shi smiled and said, "Hello, you're welcome. I'm Lu Chen." Lu Chen walked out of the bedroom and was surprised to see so many people in the living room. Tian Tian stepped forward and bowed to him and said, "Mr. Lu Chen, I'm here to thank you." The female streamer handed over the paper bag in her hand at the same time. "This is the clothes for you as compensation." On the black bag the Armani logo was very conspicuous. Lu Chen took it and said, "Call me Lu Chen." "Thank you. In fact, you don't have to take yesterday's matter to heart. You are Sister Faye's friend, so you are my friend. There is no need to be so polite between friends." A faint smile appeared on Tian Tian's pale face. "This is what I should do." She said, "Let me introduce you." In addition to her assistant, Tian Tian came to see Lu Chen together with Director Chen of Zhidong Satellite TV, two people in charge of the concert organizing committee and representatives of the Hangzhou police. They came with Tian Tian in the morning. In addition to expressing their gratitude to Lu Chen, they also hoped that Lu Chen would not hype up this matter and minimize the negative impact. In addition to such things, Hangzhou has lost face in all aspects. At least there is a big problem with the security organization. Of course, Lu Chen agreed. First of all, he is from Zhidong and he must give face to his hometown. Secondly, he doesn't need to use this matter to hype up. There is no need at all. The communication between the two sides was very pleasant. At the suggestion of Director Chen of Zhidong Satellite TV, Lu Chen, together with Tian Tian and the police representative, directly borrowed a conference room in the hotel, invited all the reporters who were squatting under the hotel, and held a small press conference to face up to it. At this informal press conference, a reporter asked Lu Chen, "Mr. Lu Chen, what was your motive at that time to protect host Tian regardless of the danger? What were you thinking at that time?" This question was somewhat sinister because on the internet, many people thought that Lu Chen risked his life because he wanted to be a hero to save the beauty, and also joked that the beauty's power was great. There were crazy fans and there were brave heroes. Lu Chen answered very calmly, "If you ask me what I thought at that time, then I really didn't think too much at that time. Otherwise, I'm afraid you wouldn't see me sitting here with host Tian to answer your question." There was a soft laughter among the reporters. Lu Chen was right. At that time things happened too suddenly. Even if he hesitated for half a second, the result would be different. Only an instinctive reaction could be so fast. It was really nonsense to say that Lu Chen wanted to be a hero to save the beauty. He had no time to think about it at all. Lu Chen added, "At that time, whether it was host Tian or anyone else, I would have stopped the assailant." The reporter from the Morning Post was unwilling to give up and asked, "Then what prompted you to do this?" Lu Chen smiled faintly and said, "It should be responsibility. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Since I have the ability to stop evil, then I should have the corresponding responsibility." The reporter's eyes lit up. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. The sentence is good. There was applause in the conference room. Although it was not very warm, it was enough to show the attitude of the reporters present. Another reporter stood up and said, "Mr. Lu Chen, I'm a reporter from EasyNet. Many netizens are very curious. How did you take off your suit and throw it out at that time? Have you practiced martial arts before?" Lu Chen didn't hide it and explained, "I often exercise and practice martial arts. The move I used to throw my clothes is called armor removal by the Overlord." Armor removal by the Overlord? This name is really domineering and has a selling point. Many reporters quickly bowed their heads and typed on the keyboard, quickly entering the content of the interview. Today's press release has been published. After failing to dig out any inside story from Lu Chen, the reporters turned to another protagonist, Tian Tian. Tian's mental state was not very good, but in the face of the reporters' various questions, she answered them very appropriately, showing the qualities that a show host should have. After all, she was half a peer and also a victim, so the reporters didn't make things difficult for her. Next, representatives of Zhidong Satellite TV and the police also answered a lot of questions. After the impromptu press conference, Lu Chen and Lu Shi were ready to leave the hotel. Tian originally wanted to invite the two to dinner to express her gratitude, but Lu Chen declined. He and his sister still had important things to do. He exchanged contact information with Tian. After the end of his trip in Hangzhou, Lu Chen did not return to the capital immediately, but took the high-speed train to Ningguan. Ningguan was a prefecture-level city under Jiangsu province, only more than 200 kilometers away from Hangzhou. Therefore it only took 40 minutes to get there by rail. After leaving the railway station, Lu Chen and Lu Shi stopped a taxi and went to the First People's Hospital in Ningguan. The two went to visit a fan of Lu Chen whose name was Meng Meng. For thousands of Lu Chen's fans, perhaps not many people know the name Meng Meng, but her online name Meng Meng was a well-known ID in the fan group. Meng Meng often wrote some fresh articles and song reviews in blogs and forums. In addition, she was a girl, so she was pursued by many otaku fans. Lu Chen also read one of her song reviews and felt it was very interesting at that time. What Lu Chen didn't expect was that this girl who liked to dream actually got acute leukemia. Last night, when Lu Shi was looking through the mail, she found a letter from Meng Meng's classmate. In this letter, the classmate revealed Meng Meng's situation, saying that Meng Meng's situation was very bad and needed a lot of money to treat her. She was from a single-parent family, and the economic conditions of her family were completely insufficient to support the expensive medical expenses. Meng Meng's classmates and the school donated money to her, but it was still a long way from the full cost of the bone marrow transplant. The classmate was also helpless, so she sent a letter to Lu Chen for help. "Tian, not sure if it's a good idea to get a bone marrow transplant." Meng Meng herself didn't know about this. At the end of the letter, Meng Meng's classmate also wrote Meng Meng's home address, contact phone number, and the hospital where she stayed for verification to prove that she was not a liar. After Lu Shi saw the email, she immediately told Lu Chen. So Lu Chen decided to change his itinerary and come to Ningguan to visit this seriously ill fan. He was willing to provide help as much as he could. It was really unexpected to encounter such a thing. Lu Chen knew very well that relying on his own strength alone, he couldn't help all the people who needed help. Once there was a precedent, there might be a lot of trouble in the future. For example, some real or fake fans would come to him for help. Most importantly, after paying off his family's debts and redeeming the house, he didn't have much money. But these were not the reasons why Lu Qin chose to avoid it. He couldn't watch one of his fans, a young girl, wither because of illness, just like he couldn't let Tian Tian be innocently hurt in front of him. A solution could always be found. As a man, there were things he shouldn't do and things he must do. Chapter 214. Su Province, the First People's Hospital of Ningguan City. In Ward 1207 of the Department of Hematology and Oncology, several girls were talking to Meng Meng around the bed. Meng Meng, who was wearing a hospital gown, looked a little pale, but she was in good spirits. She was talking and laughing with 3 classmates and friends. There was no sign of serious illness at all. It was just that the medical record hanging on the bed frame was clearly marked with the bold black font AL. AL, acute leukemia, the English abbreviation for acute leukemia. The malignant cloning disease of hematopoietic stem cells used to be a terminal disease. Now that technology has advanced, there have been a variety of treatments for acute leukemia. The best effect is bone marrow transplantation with a high cure rate. But the cost of treatment is also astonishingly high. Meng Meng's mother, Zhang Fang, was sitting in a chair not far from the bed. Although she had a smile on her face, there was sadness in her eyes that couldn't be concealed. She was completely forcing herself to smile. What worried Zhang Fang was the cost of Meng Meng's treatment. Even if she went bankrupt, plus the donations from Meng Meng's school and classmates, it would be a drop in the bucket compared to the huge treatment cost. Just in order not to make her daughter sad, she never dared to show her inner emotions. Knock, knock. The door of the ward was suddenly knocked lightly, and someone pushed the door and came in. It was a man and a woman. The man was tall and wore a mask, revealing only a pair of eyes. The woman asked softly, "May I ask if Sister Meng Meng lives here?" The man was also carrying a fruit basket in his hand. "Are you looking for Meng Meng?" Zhang Fang was stunned, quickly stood up and said, "Yes, may I ask who you are?" The other party was very strange. In Zhang Fang's memory, there was no such person. Could it be a friend of Xiaoming? However, Meng Meng and several girls also looked at the person with curious eyes. They didn't know him either. The woman said, "Hello, Auntie, we are here to visit Sister Meng Meng." The man walked to the front of Meng Meng's bed. He put down the fruit basket first and then reached out to take off his mask. "Hello, Meng Meng." Seeing the man's true face, Meng Meng suddenly opened her eyes, and her round face was full of disbelief. She covered her mouth with her hand, completely dumbfounded. The 3 girls sitting by the bed were also dumbfounded. One of the girls in a green dress shouted excitedly, Lu Qin. "It's me," Lu Qin smiled and said, "It's me. Hello." It was Lu Qin and Lu Shi who came to visit Meng Meng. They took the high-speed rail from Hangzhou to Ningguan and rushed directly to the First People's Hospital without eating. Meng Meng blinked her eyes and big tears suddenly fell down. She was not sad but too happy and surprised. Lu Qin sat down on the edge of the bed and said, "I received an email last night and knew that you were sick. I happened to be performing in Hangzhou, so I came to see you. Are you feeling better now?" Meng Meng nodded hard and suddenly opened her arms to hug Lu Qin tightly. "Brother Lu Qin." Lu Qin let her hold him, reached out and patted her on the back twice to express comfort. Zhang Fang finally understood that the person visiting her daughter was her idol. Lu Qin. Zhang Fang was very familiar with this name. Her daughter often mentioned it. She was even chatting with her classmate just now. This was a big star. Zhang Fang couldn't help but panic. She quickly pulled over a chair and said, "Sit down, sit down." Lu Shi pulled her and said, "Auntie, don't bother. I have something to talk to you about. Is it convenient for you?" Zhang Fang nodded again and again. "It's convenient." Meng Meng held Lu Qin for more than half a minute before she let go with a red face. She asked, "Brother Lu Qin, who sent you the email?" This was what Meng Meng was most curious about. Lu Qin thought for a moment and said, "She said she was your classmate. Her ID is Rain Elf." Meng Meng and the other 2 girls turned their heads to look at the girl in the green dress. The latter lowered her head and raised her hand. She said timidly, "I admit that I wrote the email to Brother Lu Qin." She raised her head again and looked at Lu Qin with bright eyes. "I didn't expect Brother Lu Qin to come." This was what the girl in the green dress was most touched about. She had just sent a letter for help last night. Meng Meng said, "Little you shouldn't have hidden it from us. If you do this, are we still good friends?" The girl in the green dress said with a bitter face, "Little Meng, I know I was wrong." Lu Qin couldn't help laughing. These girls, who were 18 or 19 years old, were at the best age of their lives. He was more and more determined to help Meng Meng. A girl said excitedly, "I think little you has done a great thing. Otherwise, how can we see Brother Lu Qin in person? Hurry up, let's take a photo together. Meng Meng said with a smile, then you take a photo for me and Brother Lu Qin first. This small request, of course, Lu Qin unconditionally satisfied the four girls and took a lot of photos with them. He also took a few with his mobile phone. After taking the photos, Lu Qin asked about Meng Meng's condition again. Meng Meng's disease was temporarily under control. At present, conservative treatment was being used. If she wanted to be really cured, she would have to undergo many chemotherapy or bone marrow transplants. Speaking of this, Meng Meng's face added a little sadness. Lu Qin comforted her, Sister Meng Meng, you don't have to worry. If you have any difficulties, everyone will help you. What you have to do now is to cooperate with the doctor and treat the disease well, okay? Meng Meng nodded, okay Brother Lu Qin, I'm really happy that you can come to see me. Lu Qin smiled. At this time, the door of the ward was pushed open again, and a white-haired old lady came in holding a child of about 3 or 4 years old. The former was still holding an intravenous drip in her hand. The needle was stuck in the wrist of the little patient. He opened his big black eyes and looked at Lu Qin curiously, and then climbed to the adjacent bed. Lu Qin saw that the old lady had some difficulty hanging the drip, so he quickly got up and helped her hang it on the hook beside the bed. The old lady was grateful. Thank you. The little fellow asked, Sister Meng Meng, who is he? The little fellow had big eyes and a big head, but all his hair was shaved and his skin was bare. He looked like a clever little monk. Meng Meng said with a smile, this is my idol Brother Lu Qin. The little fellow asked, what's an idol? Meng Meng replied seriously, it's the person I admire the most, the person I like the most. The little fellow seemed to understand. Lu Qin thought he was very cute. He couldn't help but reach out and touch his head. How old are you? The little fellow replied cleverly, Ching Ching is 4 years old. Lu Qin glanced at his medical record and found that his illness was exactly the same as Meng Meng's. Meng Meng obviously liked the little fellow very much. She took out a big red apple from the fruit basket and stuffed it into his mouth. Such a small child. Lu Qin sighed secretly in his heart. He could see that the family situation of the little patient was not good. The old lady was dressed very simply. It was estimated that she could not afford the treatment fees like Meng Meng. There were too many people in the world who needed help. Lu Qin increasingly felt the weakness of personal strength. He had experienced the upheaval of his family, had experienced despair, and had worked hard to make a living, so he could understand the pain and bitterness of ordinary people when they faced difficulties. Now that Lu Qin had gotten rid of his predicament and realized his wish, he was willing to do his best to help others. Let's start with Meng Meng. After a few minutes, Lu Shi and Meng Meng's mother Zhang Fang came back together. There were still tears in the corners of Zhang Fang's eyes. Lu Shi nodded at Lu Qin. Lu Qin said to Meng Meng, Sister Meng Meng, I'm going back. You stay here and treat your illness well. If there's anything you can call me. He left his private phone number to Meng Meng. Meng Meng was very reluctant, but she was very sensible and did not make things difficult for Lu Qin. Okay, goodbye, Brother Lu Qin. The other girls also said reluctantly, Goodbye, Brother Lu Qin. Goodbye. Lu Qin smiled and said to Zhang Fang, Goodbye, Auntie. Thank you. Zhang Fang's eyes overflowed with tears again and she said excitedly, Thank you. Just now, Lu Shi privately learned about Meng Meng's treatment from her, and then gave her 10,000 yuan. The most important thing was that Lu Shi promised on behalf of Lu Qin that she would find a way to help Meng Meng raise the treatment fees. Zhang Fang was really grateful. The relationship between Lu Qin and Meng Meng was originally just an ordinary relationship between a star and a fan. Lu Qin did not have any obligation to help Meng Meng, nor did he need to make such a promise. But not only did he come, he also sent money and hope. What Zhang Fang needed most right now was such hope. After visiting Meng Meng, Lu Qin and Lu Shi did not immediately leave the First People's Hospital. Instead, they found the attending doctor through the nurse on duty and asked about the treatment fee. The hospital told the two that in Meng Meng's case, a bone marrow transplant was necessary, and the total treatment fee was about 1 million yuan. The problem was that this kind of serious illness was not covered by ordinary medical insurance. Meng Meng did not purchase the corresponding serious illness insurance, so the part that could be reimbursed was very limited. In the First People's Hospital, there were several people in similar situations as Meng Meng. After leaving the People's Hospital, Lu Qin and Lu Shi did not stay in Ningguan City. They took the high-speed train back to Beijing that night. The next morning, Lu Qin came to Mukin Crowdfunding Company upstairs in the studio and found Li Mushi. After careful consideration, he decided to use crowdfunding to solve Meng Meng's medical expenses. Now Lu Chen was no longer the chairman of Mukin Crowdfunding, so he must discuss this matter with Li Mushi and win the latter's consent. After hearing about Lu Chen's intention, Li Mushi didn't hesitate at all. No problem. We can arrange for the project to go online today, and for this charity crowdfunding we, Mukin Crowdfunding, will not charge any commission. Chapter 215. The crowdfunding website was established by Lu Chen himself, and it was his business idea from the dream world. Since the beginning of the website's establishment, Lu Chen has never thought of vigorously developing in this area. A few days ago he smoothly transferred most of his shares to the Li family, and then retired behind the scenes. Now, Li Mushi was really in charge of Mukin Crowdfunding. As the founder, Lu Chen took tens of millions of earnings and 10% of the original shares, while Li Mubai was still a bitter business manager. Of course, what you get will inevitably be lost. After selling most of his shares, Lu Chen only had the right to suggest suggestions for the operation of the crowdfunding website. It was impossible to let the rising website only serve him. This time, Lu Chen wanted to carry out charity crowdfunding for Meng Meng through the crowdfunding website, so he must ask for help from Li Mushi. He was not worried that the latter would refuse such a request. Unexpectedly, Li Mushi not only agreed, but also treated it like a treasure. Charity crowdfunding. She asked Lu Chen with her eyes shining, "How did you come up with such a good idea?" Lu Chen was speechless. He just wanted to help Meng Meng, and didn't think of the impact on the crowdfunding website. However, Lu Chen already understood Li Mushi's idea. Li Mushi wanted to use this charity crowdfunding project to promote and publicize, and at the same time to enhance the popularity and reputation of the crowdfunding website, as well as a good reputation. In contrast, what was a few percent commission? With her shrewdness and the power of the Li family, it was estimated that she would inevitably use the media to hype it up. To put it bluntly, as long as it was properly operated, the crowdfunding website was likely to soar to the sky with the help of such a project. At that time, it would not be a problem for the valuation to increase several times. Lu Chen only thought about saving people while Li Mushi thought about commercial interests. But he didn't have much aversion. Lu Chen didn't have moral cleanliness. If hype could save a life, what did it matter? Helping others on the premise of obtaining reasonable and legal benefits was actually better than helping others completely for free. It was more worthy of support. Li Mushi seemed to have seen through Lu Chen's thoughts and smiled. "Don't say that I'm cold-blooded and heartless. If this charity crowdfunding project can't be completed by then, I'll take care of the rest." Lu Chen admired, "Sister Mushi is wise." Li Mushi rolled her eyes and said, "Then ask your sister to help me." Lu Chen immediately interrupted her. "I'll send you the details of the charity crowdfunding project when I get back. Goodbye." This person really refused to give up his evil intentions. Lu Chen hurriedly ran away. Li Mushi looked at his fleeing figure and smiled like a blooming spring flower. At 7 o'clock that evening, Lu Chen posted a new blog post on his blog Lu Chen FMX. This was his first post after saving the damsel in distress. And this blog post had nothing to do with the acid incident. The title of the blog post was, "As long as everyone gives a little love, the world will become a beautiful world." In the blog post, Lu Chen told about Meng Meng's experience and called on everyone to contribute a little love. Therefore he set up a charity crowdfunding project on the online crowdfunding website, with a fundraising goal of 1 million yuan. Each subscription was 1 yuan, and the fundraising period was 7 days. Lu Chen wrote in the article that he currently had a total of 9.7 million plus blog fans. As long as 1/10 of his fans were willing to donate 1 yuan, it would be enough to save Meng Meng's life. Unlike ordinary crowdfunding projects, this charity crowdfunding activity had no return, and the crowdfunding website would not charge any fees. Moreover, it would send people to supervise the use of charity funds to ensure that the funds were earmarked for special purposes, and the expenditure accounts would be made public to all donors at that time. In addition, Lu Chen also said that if the fundraising goal was not met by the deadline, he would undertake the rest to ensure that Meng Meng could be treated and continue her life journey. At the end of the blog post, Lu Chen attached a photo of him and Meng Meng and the address of the crowdfunding project. Due to the influence of the acid incident, Lu Chen's popularity in the Waves blog has always been high. The ordinary blog post he posted in Hangzhou the day before yesterday had more than 2 million plus comments. These comments were basically praises and applause. Lu Chen's reputation in the blog could be said to be bursting. And the number of his fans has increased by a large margin, and he is very close to the 10 million mark. Therefore, when his new blog post was posted, it immediately received a lot of attention. Many people in the circle who followed Lu Qin quickly forwarded it. Among them were Tan Hong, Qin Fei, and other big names in the circle. When Qin Fei forwarded the blog post, he also posted a screenshot of the subscription, and added a comment, "Come on Meng Meng." The number of subscriptions she received was 50,000, which was a support of 50,000 yuan. This amount of money is undoubtedly a very small amount for Qin Fei. With her ability, not to mention 1 million, even 10 million can be easily taken out. But unless it is deliberately hyped up, most star artists will not be so generous. The reason is actually very simple. Rescuing one person is very likely to attract a group of people to ask for help. It is impossible to distinguish the real from the fake. At that time, there will be endless trouble and even lead to a bad reputation. It sounds incredible, but the fact is that this is the case and there has been a lesson learned. Therefore, as a public figure, it is necessary to be cautious in giving love. If it is a catastrophic event such as an earthquake, then it doesn't matter to donate more, but if it is for individuals, it must be controlled. Unless it is a completely undisclosed anonymous donation, it is enough to express one's heart. This point, people in the entertainment industry basically understand, and if they don't understand, there will be people to teach them. Lu Qin used charity crowdfunding to help Meng Meng. A small part of the reason was that he was short of funds, but most of the reason was based on such common sense. The same is true for Qin Fei who subscribed 50,000 yuan. Tan Hong had also raised 50,000 yuan, which was a great show of respect. Interestingly, Tian, who was certified as the host of Zhidong Satellite TV, subscribed 30,000 yuan. There is also the MSN girl group of Flying Stone Records, who also subscribed 20,000 yuan. In this kind of donation and love activity, there is a tacit unspoken rule in the circle, that is, the amount of donation is determined by one's status. The higher one's status, the more one will donate. If one's status is not high enough, donating more money than a big shot is actually a slap in the face. In this way, in addition to other star artists in the circle who have a relationship with Lu Qin or have little to do with him, they have actually supported more than 500,000 plus, directly reaching more than half of the fundraising goal. Most importantly, after the forwarding and support of these big celebrities, this charity crowdfunding project has been paid attention to by more and more people, triggering the so-called tidal effect. The number of users of the crowdfunding website is rising steadily, reaching or even exceeding the sum of the previous period in a few hours. And this is just the beginning. From the time Lu Qin posted his blog post at 7 o'clock in the evening to 12 o'clock in the short period of 5 hours, the number of support for the charity crowdfunding project on the crowdfunding website has exceeded 1 million. The goal that originally took 7 days to complete was completed in less than half a day. The official V of Lu Qin's fan group, the related post bars, forums and fan groups are all in full swing. People's hearts are like a tide, and love is surging. Meng Meng is Meng Meng. I've read the article she wrote. I must support her. Sister Meng Meng has leukemia. If you can support her, go to the crowdfunding website to support her. Even 1 yuan will do. I supported 10 copies, the money for tomorrow's breakfast. The breakfast upstairs actually costs 10 yuan. It's too extravagant. I supported 20 yuan, the money for a day's meal. I wanted to change my cell phone, but I'll use the old one first. It's more important to save people. Lu Qin said it so well. As long as everyone gives a little love, the world will become a beautiful world. I supported 100 copies. Sister Meng Meng, come on. 50 copies. More and more people joined the ranks of support, and even caused the upgraded crowdfunding website to experience a brief lag. The traffic reached hundreds of times the usual. Such a situation made Lu Qin, the initiator, stunned. He underestimated his influence and underestimated the number of kind people. There are still many good people in the world. Lu Qin had to contact Li Mushi and change the original plan. When the amount of fundraising for the project exceeded 1.2 million, the crowdfunding website issued an announcement, saying that part of the funds would be withdrawn in advance to pay for Meng Meng's medical expenses and help her complete the operation as soon as possible. For a disease like Meng Meng's, the earlier the treatment time, the better the effect of postoperative recovery, and it cannot be delayed. As for the time of the charity crowdfunding project, it will not change. The extra funds will be used to donate to other leukemia patients who are also in Ningguan First People's Hospital and are in urgent need of help. At 12:45 that night, Lu Qin posted another blog post. In his new blog post, Lu Chen first thanked everyone inside and outside the circle for supporting this charity crowdfunding project, and at the same time posted an audio. The content of the audio was a song he wrote for this charity event. The name of the song is Dedication of Love. This is the call of the heart, this is the dedication of love. This is the spring breeze of the world, this is the source of life. There is no more desert without heart, there is no more wilderness without love. Even the god of death is deterred, the flowers of happiness are blooming everywhere. As long as everyone gives a little love, the world will become a beautiful world. As long as everyone gives a little love, the world will become a beautiful world. As long as everyone gives a little love, the world will become a beautiful world. This song was played by Lu Chen on the piano. There was no arrangement or accompaniment, and the singer was Chen Fei. It was not recorded in a professional recording studio. It was a hastily produced and synthesized work. But it was precisely this crudely produced song that touched countless people and made the next day's charity crowdfunding event reach a new peak. It did not decline because of the achievement of the expected goal. Dedication of Love lyricist, Huang Qishir / composer, Lu Shizhao. Chapter 216. When the Meng Meng charity crowdfunding project went online, Lu Chen stayed in Mukin Crowdfunding Company. Under the control of Li Mushi, the new company has only been established for a month, and the number of employees has expanded to more than 100. The crowdfunding projects on the crowdfunding website have also soared from the initial 1 to dozens, showing vigorous vitality and vitality. But the protagonist of tonight's crowdfunding was undoubtedly the charity project proposed by Lu Chen. Mukin Crowdfunding Company gave strong support. And the effect of crowdfunding was beyond everyone's expectations. Seeing the amount of funds supported rising, the employees who stayed in the company to work overtime at night were stunned, and several technicians were even more busy and sweaty. The increase in data traffic was so fast that the server was a little overwhelmed. The number of registered members of the crowdfunding website has reached a surprising level. As the initiator, Lu Chen was surprised at first and then moved. He had to contact Li Mushi and ask the CEO of the crowdfunding website to hurry back to the company. Things are getting a bit big. Li Mushi was socializing outside at this time. After receiving the news, she decisively came back to preside over the overall situation. She didn't expect such a situation. But the outstanding graduate of the Wharton School of Business knew very well how much this would promote Mukin crowdfunding. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Therefore, Li Mushi made a request to Lu Chen to continue this momentum. There was no problem in completing the Meng Meng charity crowdfunding. It was just that after the project funds reached the target, everyone's enthusiasm for support would inevitably drop big, which was what Li Mushi didn't want to see. She hoped that it would last for a few more days so that the influence of the crowdfunding website would inevitably spread to more places and be known and understood by more people, which was equivalent to making a super advertisement. In business, Lu Chen could fully understand Li Mushi's idea. If it were him, he would probably do the same. So, Lu Chen proposed to expand the scope of the fundraising, not only to help Meng Meng, but to benefit more leukemia patients, such as Xiao Qingqing, who was in the same ward as Meng Meng. He knew very well that the crowdfunding website was not a real charity, and for such a charity crowdfunding campaign, the first time was undoubtedly the best. If it ended in a hurry, it would be a pity. Lu Chen thought of Xiao Qingqing and other leukemia patients in Ningguan First People's Hospital who were in urgent need of help, so he called Chen Fei. The cell phone was quickly connected, and it was Chen Fei himself who answered the phone. Lu Chen, what's the matter? Hearing the familiar voice on the phone, Lu Chen couldn't help smiling and said, Fei, thank you. He thanked Chen Fei, for her support. The latter's blog repost undoubtedly expanded the publicity effect. In contrast, the 50,000 yuan was a trivial matter. Chen Fei said with a chuckle, it's nothing. That's what I should do. Yesterday, Tian called me and said that you didn't give her a chance to thank you, and you couldn't even stay for a meal. Did you go to see the sick little girl? Her voice was as soft and melodious as ever, and it gently tugged at Lu Chen's heartstrings. Lu Chen said in a low voice, yes, Sister Fei, I have one more thing to ask you for help. Chen Fei asked curiously, what's the matter? Lu Chen replied, I want to ask you to sing a song for me tonight. Lu Chen thought about it. If he wanted to expand this project, he must have a publicity hotspot to attract more people's attention and support. Asking Chen Fei to sing a song to thank his supporters was the best way he could think of. Of course, he was also relying on Chen Fei's popularity. If it were other big stars without that friendship, it would undoubtedly be very presumptuous to make such a request. But Lu Qin and Qin Fei, he believed that this heavenly queen sister would definitely support him. Sure enough, Qin Fei was interested. What song? So Lu Qin sent the song he had just written, Dedication of Love, to her through QQ. The two communicated by video through QQ. Lu Qin returned to his studio, recorded the piano he had just purchased not long ago, and then synthesized Qin Fei singing together. This was a completely amateur approach, just like two friends who were bored playing and singing, using a microphone to record and synthesize for fun. It just saved the trouble of professional recording, and the final product was undoubtedly very rough. However, Qin Fei found it very interesting, and she was also surprised by Lu Qin's work. The lyrics of Dedication of Love were simple and easy to understand. The melody was soothing and warm, but the theme was very lofty, even with a strong theme style. It was perfect to match this charity crowdfunding event. What made Qin Fei deeply impressed was Lu Qin's talent in music creation. This song was obviously not a work that had existed before, but the temporary idea created a possible classic, which really made people speechless. Tian, Lu Qin, after practicing singing several times, the heavenly queen sister even had the urge to run to Lu Qin's place immediately and crack open his skull to see how the brain structure inside was different from that of ordinary people. With the cooperation of the two, this song Dedication of Love was produced in a hurry. Lu Qin first published it on his blog, and then Qin Fei also posted a new blog post. In this blog post, Qin Fei told about the birth of Dedication of Love and the process of his cooperation with Lu Qin. He hoped that with this work, more people would pay attention to and care about leukemia patients and provide support to those patients who need help. The two people, one after the other, plus a song, immediately became a new explosive point on the blog. Although it was already midnight, thousands of people still forwarded the blog posts of Lu Qin and Qin Fei, making the influence of this song Dedication of Love continue to expand, which in turn promoted the number of support for the charity crowdfunding project. At 7 o'clock the next evening, the charity crowdfunding project to help Meng Meng, leukemia patient, had been online for 24 hours, and the number of support exceeded 3 million. On the same day, the supervision representative sent by Mukin crowdfunding company had arrived at the First People's Hospital of Ningguan City, and soon determined the second recipient. That was Xiao Qingqing, who was in the same ward as Meng Meng. After receiving the news, the TV station in Ningguan City sent a reporter to conduct a live interview. The third day, the fourth day, the fifth day, on October 25th, the sixth day of the charity crowdfunding project, Lu Qin Studio received an interview request from China Youth Daily for Lu Qin himself. China Youth Daily was founded in 1950 and has a history of 65 years. It is a central-level newspaper directly under the control of the Central Publicity Department. It takes promoting social progress and serving the growth of young people as its own responsibility and serves generation after generation of young people. It was precisely because of such a prominent status that China Youth Daily has always been in the top 3 in the national daily readership and popularity, and has a great influence in China. It was undoubtedly an honor to be interviewed by China Youth Daily. Without typical deeds or publicity points, it was impossible to get such an opportunity. Lu Qin attached great importance to this and was even a little nervous. The process of the interview was not as serious as Lu Qin imagined. The two reporters sent by China Youth Daily were not very old, and they had a good understanding of him. The reporter's interview was completed in a very harmonious atmosphere. There were 3 main reasons why Lu Qin could attract the attention of this major central newspaper. The first was Lu Qin's talent in music creation. The reporter's focus was not on his debut album, You Who Sat Next to Me, but the already well-known song, I Love You China. Since Lu Qin sang this song at the National Day Party of Beijing Television, it quickly spread all over the country. It was covered by many theme singers and appeared in many non-commercial party programs. Could be said that it was very popular. China Youth Daily asked Lu Qin about his creative motivation and inspiration. The second was the sulfuric acid incident in which Lu Qin bravely saved Tian Tian, and the last was the charity crowdfunding project. Although it was the first time that he had been interviewed by such a big official media, Lu Qin, who had 3 life memories, quickly adapted. He was neither overbearing nor servile, and cooperated with the reporter to complete the interview. His maturity and experience made the 2 reporters from China Youth Daily look at him in a new light. On October 27th, China Youth Daily published an interview article with Lu Qin on the 4th page with the title, New Era New Youth, as the main title. This article first briefly introduced Lu Chen's identity, and then focused on Lu Chen's deeds, praising him as a representative of the new youth in the new era and a model of newcomers in the entertainment industry. The article wrote that in today's entertainment industry, celebrity artists have endless scandals, and their image in the eyes of the public is constantly declining. They need talented, knowledgeable, and moral newcomers like Lu Chen to provide positive energy. This central newspaper's evaluation of Lu Chen was undoubtedly very high, which was equivalent to giving Lu Chen a layer of gold. Although the article was only a few hundred words, it could not bring direct economic benefits to Lu Chen, nor would it help Lu Chen increase many fans. Its impact on Lu Chen's position in the circle was limited. However, this article represented the mainstream official recognition of Lu Chen. Its publicity effect could not be bought with any amount of money, and to a great extent, it would affect Lu Chen's future development in more aspects. As the saying goes, a flower planted intentionally does not bloom, but a willow planted unintentionally becomes a shade. This was what Lu Chen did not foresee when he was determined to help Meng Meng. What made Lu Chen even more surprised was that after the interview by China Youth Daily, another great god was alarmed. A representative was sent to discuss with him. This great god was the Yanhuang Charity Association. Chapter 217. The charity crowdfunding project to help Meng Meng, leukemia patient, ended on the 26th. A total of 4.7 million plus charity funds were raised. Because of the differences in individual diseases, it was expected to help 12 leukemia patients, including Meng Meng, who were in urgent need of help. Mukin Crowdfunding Company was responsible for the specific fund arrangement, management and supervision, account disclosure and other issues. Lu Chen no longer asked. And Yanhuang Charity Association sent a representative to find him, which had little to do with this project. The Charity Association came for dedication of love. Yanhuang Charity Association was established in 1990. It was a national non-profit public welfare social organization voluntarily participated by citizens, legal persons and other social organizations who were enthusiastic about philanthropy. It has more than 500 member units in China. Compared with the Red Cross Society, Yanhuang Charity Association had a better reputation among the people. The representative sent by this charity was surnamed Su En, director of the Charity Association's External Liaison Department. Miss Su En, who was in her 40s, had a kind face, a soft voice and a very cultured speech. On behalf of Yanhuang Charity Association, she hoped to get a non-commercial license for the song Dedication of Love from Lu Chen for the promotion and public service advertisements of the Charity Association. Lu Chen agreed without any hesitation. He never thought about making money with this song. Whether it was the Charity Association or the Red Cross Society, as long as they were willing to use it, they could use it freely without paying any fees. Yanhuang Charity Association, in addition to seeking the license for Dedication of Love, also hoped that Lu Chen could participate in the shooting of a public service advertisement. This public service advertisement would use Dedication of Love as the core theme, and invite a number of stars to participate and sing together, including Li Xing, Tan Hong, Chen Fei or Lu Zhonghan, Shi Rong, and other big figures. Including Lu Chen, there were currently 12 confirmed. To put it bluntly, in the invitation list provided by Su En, any one of them had more fame and status than Lu Chen. If he wasn't the original creator of Dedication of Love, he probably wouldn't be in the list at all. Su En also vaguely revealed that this also had something to do with Lu Chen's interview with China Youth Daily just now. And this was, of course, a good thing. Lu Chen couldn't think of a reason for his refusal at all, so he finalized it on the spot. According to what my sister said, the more reputation I have, the better. However, the filming of the Dedication of Love public service film couldn't start immediately. For a huge organization like the Yanhuang Charity Association, the preparatory work would definitely take a lot of time. However, Lu Chen's participation was already set in stone. Therefore, after the meeting with Su En, Lu Chen quickly put this matter to the back of his mind. Anyway, someone would naturally inform him when the time came, and as an independent artist, he was very free to arrange his time. At present, what Lu Chen was most concerned about was the debut album, Not Yet Lovers, released by Flying Stone Records' MSN Beautiful Girl. In this new album, Lu Chen wrote 3 songs including the title track, Not Yet Lovers. He was also in charge of supervising the production and acted in the music video of Not Yet Lovers. On the last day of October, as a warm-up for MSN's debut album, the music video and single of Not Yet Lovers began large-scale publicity on major TV stations, radio stations and the internet. As the first girl group launched by Flying Stone Records in recent years, the company had high hopes for MSN's album. The cost of inviting Lu Qin to write and supervise the production alone exceeded 1 million yuan. Naturally, they would not drop the ball in the important publicity. It was said that Flying Stone Records had a publicity budget of up to 5 million yuan. Therefore, it brought a lot of pressure to Lu Qin. The 3 works he wrote for MSN, including the title track, Not Yet Lovers, were all selected excellent works, but it was actually difficult to accurately grasp the popular trend of the market and the tastes and preferences of fans. Some songs were obviously very good, but they just couldn't get up, while some catchy songs could be popular all over the country. Although Lu Qin was very confident, Flying Stone Records had spent tens of millions on SN's album. Once it failed, it would have a great impact on him. After all, the price of one of his works was as high as 350,000 to 400,000 yuan, which was completely at the top level. If the top price didn't achieve the desired effect, the reputation accumulated before would be severely damaged. Lu Qin's rise was so fast that it was unknown how many people in the circle were envious and jealous. Naturally, there were many people who wanted to see him make a fool of himself. And these words were told to Lu Qin by Qin Fei. Time entered November and autumn was getting stronger. After returning to Beijing from Hangzhou, Lu Qin met Qin Fei for the first time in a Western restaurant in Beijing. This restaurant was very famous and had the qualification of a Michelin restaurant. Usually it was impossible to book a seat. But for Qin Fei, this was obviously not a problem. On the surface, the meeting between Lu Qin and Qin Fei was to discuss the latter's new album, but both of them knew very well that this was actually a real date. It was just that no one had the intention to point it out. I'm reminding you, don't get carried away. After eating the dessert after the meal, a small cream cake, Qin Fei said to Lu Qin very seriously, many newcomers in the circle were carried too high all of a sudden, and then fell very badly and heavily. Lu Qin nodded. Recently he had really been in the limelight. First, he saved people and punished criminals in Hangzhou, then he engaged in charity crowdfunding, and then he was interviewed by China Youth Daily. Any newcomer, as long as he had one of these, would inevitably be able to brush his face in front of the public. Lu Qin had been in the limelight 3 times, and it could be said that he had gained both fame and fortune. So far, the number of fans on his Waves blog has officially exceeded the 10 million mark. The surge in fame brought real benefits. First of all, Whale TV was negotiating with Lu Shi to re-sign a contract with Lu Qin. Lu Qin's cooperation with Whale TV began half a year ago. The contract signed by the 2 sides was for 2 years. In addition to the reward income, there was an additional 500,000 signing fee every year. At that time, both parties were satisfied with the contract, but now it was no longer appropriate. Because the contract was no longer worthy of Lu Qin's fame and value. It wasn't that Lu Qin took the initiative to break the contract, but Whale TV felt that it was necessary to re-sign the contract. Lu Qin started with Whale TV and became famous through Singing China. Although Whale TV gave him good treatment, the returns that Lu Qin brought to Whale TV were also amazing. Not to mention the popularity of Lu Fei's live broadcast room, his successful experience alone has allowed Whale TV to attract a lot of excellent anchor talents, and the number of registered members has been rising steadily. Although Whale TV could pretend to be deaf and dumb and wait for Lu Qin to complete the 2-year contract, in this way the possibility of Lu Qin renewing the contract is almost impossible. The most important thing is that this contract has already been exposed, making Whale TV very passive. 500,000 signing fee? This joke is a bit big. Therefore, in order to better cooperate between the 2 sides in the future, and in order to retain the golden signboard of Lu Qin, Whale TV offered a new contract to Lu Qin's studio. At present, Lu Shi is negotiating with Whale TV on behalf of Lu Qin, and it is estimated that the signing fee is at least 3 million. Lu Qin also intends to continue to cooperate with Whale TV for a period of time, but he will not give up the benefits he should get. In addition to the Whale TV, there are a lot of people who want to sign endorsement contracts with Lu Qin, including several famous domestic and foreign brands. In addition, there are many performers and agencies who have come to the door, making Lu Shi very busy. As for other kinds of invitations, it is even more innumerable. The entertainment industry is a big Vanity Fair. Many artists who become famous overnight are easy to fall into the vortex of vanity and interests and are unable to extricate themselves. They gradually lose their original heart, and as a result, there are frequent scandals that lead to the destruction of their future. Qin Fei doesn't want Lu Chen to become one of them. She deeply understands how complicated the entertainment industry is. Fortunately, Lu Chen is an independent artist. If he is in a large entertainment agency, he doesn't know how many open and secret arrows he will have to face. Regarding Chen Feier's kind reminder, Lu Chen nodded and said, "I know, Sister Fei." To be honest, he has been a little complacent recently. Fortunately, there are always good teachers and helpful friends around him. While answering, Lu Chen stretched out his hand and wiped the remaining cream on the corner of Chen Feier's mouth. Chen Fei suddenly froze and her pretty face instantly flushed. In an instant, her beauty was indescribable. She didn't expect Lu Chen to be so bold. Lu Chen himself didn't expect it either. It's just that his fingers caressed the skin. That kind of soft jade-like feeling made his courage soar. Lu Chen's hand fell and pressed on Chen Feier's small hand. He looked at the other party, his eyes bright. Chen Feier's eyes widened at first, and then under the gaze of Lu Chen, she shyly lowered her head. After a while, she probably came back to her senses and raised her head again to stare at Lu Chen. As if to say, "You're too bold." Lu Chen didn't want to let go and said bluntly, "Sister Fei, I like you." He wasn't a novice in love and he didn't want to continue to hide his feelings for Chen Fei, so he simply took this opportunity to directly confess. Chen Feier's face blushed again, but she was after all not a teenage girl. Instead, she sighed softly and said, "Lu Chen, can you let me think about it?" She didn't deny that she also had a good impression of Lu Chen, but she really wasn't ready to start a relationship with a younger brother. Lu Chen nodded and retracted his hand. "Okay." Chen Fei felt a little guilty. She held Lu Chen's big hand and said softly, "Thank you." Lu Chen didn't retract his hand. The two of them didn't say anything, but there was a kind of warmth flowing silently between them. The night outside the window also seemed to be a lot gentler. Chapter 218. At night, on the lakeside of Hohai, the flow of people was like a tide. In the vast sea of people, Lu Chen and Chen Fei walked side by side, bathed in the cool evening breeze and strolled along the lakeside. Both of them were properly dressed, especially Chen Fei, who was completely different from her usual image, so none of the pedestrians and tourists who hurried past could recognize her. Four-star artists, it was really not easy to be able to walk and go shopping like ordinary people. There were many couples on the lakeside either holding hands, or sitting in each other's arms on the grass or benches. The air seemed to be filled with a sweet smell. In contrast, Lu Chen and Chen Fei, who kept a distance of half a foot, seemed a bit out of the ordinary. Chen Fei didn't speak and seemed to be thinking about something. Lu Chen wanted to find something to talk about, but he didn't know what to say. After all, in the restaurant before, he took the initiative to confess to the heavenly queen next to him, and he was still a little nervous. Just then Chen Fei suddenly stopped. She stood in front of an advertising screen. This kind of LED advertising screen with a width of about 2 meters was very common in parks and commercial areas. It mainly played daily life information such as traffic, weather, etc., and commercial and public service advertisements. The advertising screen standing on the edge of the lakeside boulevard had just switched. The brightly colored screen showed the picture of 3 beautiful girls, who were wearing white school uniforms and snuggling up to each other, showing a sweet smile to everyone. In the middle of the picture, an eye-catching title was outlined in oil painting strokes, MSN. Not Yet Lovers. This was the first music video of the girl group of Flying Stone Records, MSN Beautiful Girls, and also the promotional film for their debut album. Since the day before yesterday, they have been the first to land in various media in Beijing and launched a huge warm-up campaign. Their singing floated out from the speakers hidden in the pillars of the advertising screen and into people's ears. "Why can I only talk to you all night? Why do I want to see you again after saying goodbye? Among my friends you are the most special. You always make me feel very close and close. Why do you care about who goes shopping with me? Why do you worry about who flirts with me? You say you treat me a little more than others but you don't say how much more. We're more than friends but we're not yet lovers. We're so sweet but we're annoyed. We're so happy and confused. What will we become in the future? I can't wait to know the answer." The sound effects of the speaker attached to the advertising screen were very ordinary. In jargon it was just a sound. However, the beautiful melody, the sweet voice with a little sadness, and the exquisite and beautiful picture made many passers-by and Chen Fei stop to listen and watch the music video of Not Yet Lovers. In the scene the 3 girls were studying, living, running and playing on campus. Then the female lead, Mu Xiaochu, bumped into the senior, Lu Chen, and a hazy pure love unfolded. Fang Hui, the director of the music video, handled the picture very carefully. The constantly changing scenes made people feel as if they had returned to the campus of their youth. She showed the subtle feelings between the hero and the heroine just right. In particular, the heroine's pursuit and longing for a beautiful love made people's hearts beat faster. Lu Chen was fine. As the male lead, he had watched it several times. But Chen Feier was fascinated. For some reason, Lu Chen, who was standing next to Chen Feier, seemed to feel the throbbing of the heavenly queen's heart. Lu Chen couldn't help but reach out and hold her hand. Chen Feier's hand was a little cold. Her fingers, which were like spring onions, were evenly distributed and delicate like jade. When Lu Chen held her hand couldn't help but tremble, but she didn't break free. The two finished watching the video together. At the end of the music video, it was a shot of Lu Chen and Mu Xiaochu gazing at each other affectionately. Mu Xiaochu's innocence and cuteness, and Lu Chen's handsomeness were fully displayed in this shot. Chen Feier blinked and said, "Let's go." The two continued to move forward, but they didn't let go of each other's hands. As they walked, Chen Feier suddenly asked, "This music video is good. Do you keep in touch with Xiaochu often?" She turned her head and looked at Lu Chen. Her eyes, which were hidden behind her glasses, were shining like bright stars. Lu Chen said, "Rarely. I think of her as a younger sister." Chen Feier bit her lip and said, "You know what? In fact, I'm 28 years old this year. In order to make my debut in advance, my agent helped me change my household registration and lied about my age." Lu Chen, what? Chen Feier was ashamed and annoyed. "If I had known, I wouldn't have told you. Only a few people know about this." She tried hard to break free from Lu Chen's hand. "Sister Fei, I was wrong." Lu Chen quickly grabbed her hand, stopped, stared at her and said, "In fact, I don't think age is a problem. Whether you are 30 or 28, I like you all the same." Lu Chen's eyes were gentle and sincere. He knew that Chen Feier had a knot in her heart about the issue of age. After all, there was a gap between them. But he had never thought that age would be a problem. And Lu Chen also knew that Chen Feier had never been afraid to talk about her age. She took the initiative to tell him this secret, which was undoubtedly a sign of trust, and, now that the relationship between the two sides had finally broken through, Lu Chen didn't want to let go and go back to the past. He really liked Chen Feier. Chen Feier struggled a few times to no avail, and her pretty face blushed with shyness. There was a trace of softness in her eyes and she said, "You make it sound nice. I'm an old woman. If I say I like you now, I may regret it in the future." Lu Chen smiled bitterly. "How can you be an old woman? Then what do I have to do to make you believe me, Sister Fei?" To be honest, no one would doubt Chen Feier if she said she was 22 years old, let alone 30 or 28 years old. In the eyes of many fans, Chen Feier, who had been in the entertainment industry for more than 10 years, was an ageless girl. Lu Chen thought, is Chen Feier jealous of Mu Xiaochu? This thought actually made him a little complacent and he was even more unwilling to let go. Narcissistic plus shameful. Chen Feier gave up struggling, thought seriously for a moment and said, "Let go of me first, let's take it slowly." After all, she was not a teenage girl and she would not be easily moved by sweet words. Even if her heartstrings were touched, she was still reserved and refused to completely open her heart. Lu Chen said, "Okay then." He reluctantly let go of Chen Feier's hand as if he was a child who had lost his favorite toy. Of course, he deliberately put on an act. Chen Feier couldn't help but laugh and reached out to hold Lu Chen's arm. "Let's go." Lu Chen asked, "Where are we going?" Chen Feier tilted her head and said, "This place is very close to the bar pedestrian street, right? Let's go to Forget Worries bar." Lu Chen, Chen Feier glanced at him. "Can't I?" Lu Chen said with a smile, "Of course there's no problem. I'll buy you a cup of burning, which is David's signature." Chen Feier nodded and said, "If there is no one else in the future, don't call me Sister Fei anymore." Lu Chen was stunned and then immediately smiled and said, "Got it, Feier." Chen Feier bit her lip and also smiled. Although it was not directly said, both of them knew that their relationship had broken through. They could never go back to the past. When they arrived at Forget Grass Bar, it was already 9 o'clock in the evening. Although it was not a weekend, Forget Grass Bar's business was still very hot. There were basically no seats on the ground floor, and even the front of the bar was surrounded by many customers. Everyone drank, chatted, and listened to the singer on the stage. It was still the atmosphere that Lu Chen was familiar with. He squeezed to the front of the bar with Chen Feier and said to David, who was so busy that his feet didn't touch the ground, "Brother David, give me 2 cups of burning." David glanced at Lu Chen and was stunned. This guy looked a bit familiar and his voice was even more familiar. OMG. He quickly recognized Lu Qin. Lu Qin, why are you here? Ah. This fake foreigner laughed and said loudly to the customers in the bar, let me tell you a piece of good news, our boss Xiao Lu Qin is here, everyone welcome him. Lu Qin owned 5% of Forget Grass Bar's shares, which was also his last tie with Forget Grass Bar. Speaking of which, Lu Qin had not been back for a long time. Lu Qin. Hearing David's shout, the customers present couldn't help but reveal a surprised smile and stood up one after another. I haven't been here for a long time. What day is it today? What kind of wind is blowing? Lu Qin, we all miss you very much. Sing a song, a new song. Lu Qin quickly turned around and waved his hand. Hello everyone, long time no see. The customers in Forget Grass Bar were all of high quality, whether it was old customers or new customers. Many of them greeted Lu Qin in a friendly manner. There were not many onlookers, only a few customers came over to ask for autographs and photos. He satisfied the request of these customers. The current Lu Qin was already a legendary figure in Forget Grass Bar and Hohai's circle. But no one knew that the woman wearing a long dress beside Lu Qin was the real superstar. Only David looked at Qin Fei and carefully asked, Lu Qin, this beautiful lady isn't also your sister, right? The last time Lu Qin brought Lu Shi to Forget Grass Bar for the first time, David ended up treating her as Lu Qin's girlfriend. He still remembered the lesson. Lu Qin smiled and said, this is also my sister. David couldn't help but roll his eyes. May I ask Mr. Lu Qin, how many sisters do you have? He chatted with Lu Qin while skillfully mixing a cup of burning and delivered it in front of Qin Fei. Beautiful and charming lady, please allow me to treat you to a cup of burning that I personally made. Saying that, he even pressed his left hand on his chest and made an elegant gentleman's bow. Qin Fei smiled and said, thank you. She took a sip of the wine and glanced at Lu Qin at the same time with a smile. As if saying, he is much better at coaxing women than you. Lu Qin smiled bitterly. Chapter 219. At Nepenthe's bar the atmosphere was at its best. Here there wasn't the impetuous hustle and bustle of Sanlaton's bars. There weren't any gaudy and messy electronic songs and dances, and there weren't any revelry or roars of excessive drinking. Customers sat around the tables, chatting and laughing in low voices or enjoying the music. In the corner, couples were whispering sweet nothings to each other, and well-trained waiters walked in between them with plates in their hands. On the stage, a delicate and pretty female singer was playing folk songs. Those feelings, love, and those sad and melancholy lyrics were like a gurgling stream, flowing into people's ears and hearts. In front of the bar, Qin Fei finished her second glass of burning. She was a little drunk. This cocktail was called burning, which was a recipe developed by David himself. It was red like a flame and it was as strong as fire. People with low alcohol tolerance would get drunk after drinking one glass. Qin Fei's alcohol tolerance was quite good, although as a singer she couldn't drink too much to protect her voice. But as a person the most important thing was to be happy. She was very happy that night, so she made an exception and drank a little more. This made Lu Qin a little worried. He leaned over and whispered in Qin Fei's ear, Sister Fei, let me send you back? Although up until now no one had recognized her, it was hard to say if she was drunk. Maybe she would make the headlines tomorrow. Qin Fei turned her head, and the two almost touched lips. She didn't dodge and said with bright eyes, the atmosphere here is very good, I want to sing. Lu Qin slightly shrank back and asked, you want to sing? If she went on stage and sang she would definitely be recognized. Qin Fei nodded seriously, yes. The song she wanted to sing was not for others but for herself. Lu Qin couldn't help but look back. Seeing that Sister Zhang was still sitting in the corner, he thought for a moment and asked, what song? Although it was a date that night, Qin Fei's assistant and chauffeur-cum bodyguard were actually there. When the two of them took a stroll after dinner they followed them from afar. Of course they were also in the bar now. As a celebrity, especially a big star like Qin Fei, if there was no one around him when he was out, it would be very troublesome if he was recognized, not to mention the danger. Qin Fei moved closer to Lu Qin's ear and whispered two words. This was the title of a song and one of the 3 songs Lu Qin wrote for her new album. Her breath blew into Lu Qin's ear. It was a little ticklish with the smell of alcohol. This made Lu Qin a little absent-minded and he couldn't help but nod. It was as if he had been cursed. Lu Qin took Qin Fei backstage. Forget Worries Bar's resident and contracted singers were no longer the ones Lu Qin was familiar with. The Bionics had signed a contract with Light Rain Media and were now doing very well. Needless to say, Li Hong, Yi Jinyang and Wang Xiaoshui had already left. It was normal for a bar to have an iron camp and a flowing stream of soldiers. But now the singers backstage basically knew Lu Chen and Lu Chen's identity. Seeing Lu Chen and Chen Feier come in, they all stood up. "Hello, Brother Chen." These singers obviously knew that Lu Chen came to Forget Worries bar at night, so they were pleasantly surprised but not surprised. Lu Chen smiled in response and then said, "I'll be up next, I'll be collaborating with a friend." Hearing Lu Chen's words, some of the singers were surprised and some were very happy. One of the female singers smiled and said, "I've long heard of your name. We're really lucky tonight." She even looked at Chen Feier with envy and jealousy. In Hohai's circle, Lu Chen had long been a dreamlike story. Apart from Lu Chen's own career development, there are the Wandering Band, Sister Na, and the North Needle Band, which has just released a single not long ago that has been held up by his hands alone. These people were the same as them, they were originally in Hohai. Now that they had soared, how could they not be envious? She also regarded Chen Feier as one of her peers, the very lucky kind. After a few minutes, the singer in front finished singing and Lu Chen and Chen Feier went on stage. He asked the waiter to push the piano out. Seeing this scene, the guests in the bar suddenly became excited. Lu Chen was going to sing. Today Lu Chen was no longer the small singer in the bar. The number of times he came to Forget Worries bar was getting fewer and fewer, so many old customers could only reminisce about the time when he played and sang on stage and bragged to his new companions. Today it was a surprise for Lu Chen to appear here, but it was exciting for him to go on stage. Would Lu Chen come out with a new work tonight? One must know that Lu Chen had sung many original works in Forget Worries bar. To be able to listen to Hatsune's new song was really a wonderful thing that was worth reminiscing about. Of course, although they were excited, everyone was still very polite and didn't make a racket. Instead, the bar became quiet. This was the reason why Lu Chen was willing to bring Chen Feier to Forget Worries bar. It didn't matter much if he was recognized. Forget Worries bar had also invited singers and artists in the circle to perform. He sat down in front of the piano and said to the microphone that had just been set up, "Everyone, long time no see." There was a sudden burst of boos in the bar. "You still have the nerve to say that?" Then they all laughed. Lu Chen also laughed. "I know I rarely come here now, so tonight I decided to make it up to everyone. I specially invited a friend to cooperate with me on a new song." It really was a new song. There was immediately a warm applause in the bar. Lu Chen got up and bowed to thank everyone, then made a gesture of invitation to Chen Feier. Chen Feier smiled sweetly and stood in the center of the stage in front of the microphone. "Who is this?" Everyone looked at each other. No one immediately recognized Chen Feier, who was wearing glasses and had a makeup. Only a few people faintly felt that she was a little familiar. Of course, since she was Lu Chen's friend, everyone still gave her face and also applauded to show their welcome. Chen Feier said softly, "Thank you." She nodded at Lu Chen, indicating that they could start. Lu Chen sat down again and played the prelude. The pure piano accompaniment was very pleasant to listen to. At the beginning it caught everyone's ears and made everyone silent. Lu Chen's piano level was very ordinary, but compared to before, after a period of practice, playing a relatively simple song was not a problem at all. The song was not complicated, but it was very fresh for the regular customers in the bar. In the past, when they saw Lu Chen, he was always playing the guitar. But soon, everyone's attention was all attracted by Chen Feier, because she began to sing. "There are not too many people who want to see you but are still waiting. It is heartbreaking, broken into a river, walking forward alone in the vicissitudes of life, saying to live well, but no matter how busy I am, I can't quench the thirst of love. When I meet you, I don't say it's worth it, not worth it. When I brush shoulders, I help each other, being a passerby, walking forward alone in the vicissitudes of life, saying to live well, but no matter how busy I am, I can't quench the thirst of love. Humming your song across the mountains and seas, riding the waves and sailing, forgetting you and forgetting me. From then on, the river is only a legend, heaven and earth melted, stars swallowed, humming your song across the mountains and seas, riding the waves and sailing, forgetting you and forgetting me. From then on, the river is only a legend, heaven and earth melted, stars swallowed." The name of this song was Sea of Faces. Chen Feier sang it drunkenly and sang it a little carelessly, but her singing skills were impeccable, calm and not ostentatious. The poetic lyrics were sung leisurely, like the sounds of nature. It was a simple accompaniment and a simple singing, but it was like a clear spring that nourished one's heart. Inadvertently, one's impetuosity was washed away, and one's whole body relaxed, immersed in the artistic conception created by the singing. The bar was quiet, no one spoke or walked around, and all eyes fell on Chen Feier. Chen Feier sang very self-consciously and emotionally. Lu Chen wrote 3 songs for her, and the one that resonated with her the most was Woman Flower. But her favorite was Sea of Faces. Perhaps from an artistic point of view, Sea of Faces was not as good as Woman Flower, and did not have the potential to become a classic, but she liked it. When Chen Feier sang, humming your song across the mountains and seas, she couldn't help but look back at Lu Chen. Her eyes were gentle. This was not the first time she cooperated with Lu Chen, but it was the first time she sang this song in public. She just wanted to sing it here at this time. Tenderness is sung by you, you are faintly seen on the other side. Build a boat in the wind and never look back, even if you want to conquer only the desert. Cherishing is the rarest, loving you makes life vast. Tenderness is sung by me, accompanying you in the sea of faces without stopping. Humming your song across the mountains and seas, treading on the waves and sailing, forgetting you and forgetting me. From then on, the river is just a legend, heaven and earth melted, stars swallowed. At the climax of the chorus, Chen Feier's voice was a little higher, and the characteristics of her voice were vividly displayed. The feelings contained in the song also became stronger. Finally, someone heard it. It's a bit like Chen Feier. Not just a bit, but the more they looked, the more similar they looked. After being reminded, everyone had a feeling of enlightenment. When Chen Feier sang for the second time, many people couldn't sit still. There was even a small commotion in the bar. Chen Feier smiled and took off the glasses that covered her face. She felt so good. Then let's give everyone a surprise. There was no need to hide anymore. It was really a surprise. In the Forget Grass bar, it was as if a heavy bomb had exploded silently. Many people couldn't believe their eyes. The person who sang in front of them was actually Chen Feier. Some people stood up and hurriedly sat back down, their faces flushed. Some girls opened their eyes wide and covered their mouths, and some secretly took out their mobile phones to take photos. But more people were still seriously enjoying the song. Because it was not easy to get, so they had to cherish it. Note: Sea of Faces lyricist, Hung Chu/composer, Yan Qi. Chapter 220. Among the bars in Hohai, Forget Worries Bar was not the biggest, whether in terms of scale or reputation. But its business had always been good, and it had a group of regular customers. Before the boss, Chen Jianhao, opened the bar, he was also considered as a person in the circle. His connections and reputation were quite good, so he was able to invite a few celebrities to come over and raise the reputation and style of Forget Worries Bar. However, the singers he could invite were basically second or third-rate singers or even lower, but for the customers, it was undoubtedly an extra surprise. Because Chen Jianhao never relied on invited people in the circle as advertising gimmicks, naturally he would not increase the price or even sell tickets. This was big difference compared to other people in the industry who use celebrities as money trees. So it was not unusual to see celebrities performing on stage in Forget Worries Bar, but the situation at night was completely different. Because the one on stage was Chen Feier, a very high-status heavenly queen in the circle. Under normal circumstances, she would not appear in a small place like Forget Worries Bar. In the entire Hohai, perhaps only Blue Lotus had the qualifications to invite her to visit, and it also depended on luck. But now, not only was Chen Feier invited by Lu Chen, but she also sang an enchanting work. Her singing was so beautiful, so emotional. From now on, the river is only a legend, the heaven and earth melt, the stars swallow. When Chen Feier finished singing the last 2 lines, when Lu Chen's piano accompaniment only left a lingering sound, the more than 200 customers in Forget Worries Bar could no longer suppress their excitement and applauded in unison. Their enthusiastic cheers seemed to be able to tear the roof off, passing through the glass windows to the pedestrian street outside. Many pedestrians stopped and turned their heads to look over. Such a lively scene was very rare in a bar in Hohai. Lu Chen stood up, looked at Chen Feier and smiled. Although there was no dialogue, everything was expressed without words. Chen Feier very reservedly bowed slightly and softly said, "Thank you, sing another song." A customer pleaded, even begged, "It's too good to hear." This kind of opportunity was too rare. His words resonated with many people and the applause lasted for a long time. However, Chen Feier had already had enough fun. She smiled, shook her head and waved at Lu Chen. Lu Chen knew that she was about to leave and say goodbye to him. He nodded. Chen Feier blinked her eyes, and a gentle smile appeared on her pretty face. Then she turned around and walked down the stage with light steps. She was like a fairy in a dream, disappearing from the people's sight, leaving behind an incomparably graceful figure. Lu Chen didn't see Chen Fei off, nor did he leave with her. Because her identity had been exposed, it was not appropriate for her to continue staying here. She came here together but left differently to prevent the boring scandal from happening again. After all, there were so many people at the scene who took out their phones to take pictures. The customers in Forget Worries bar were considered to be of good quality, but they still violated the rules of the bar in their excitement. Photography was not allowed here, but the waiters couldn't stop so many people from breaking the rules. Chen Fei's charm was too strong. Lu Chen didn't need to worry about her leaving. Her assistant and bodyguards were all there, and there was also a small door to leave the bar backstage. Although there was a little regret, tonight was already very perfect for him. Lu Chen turned around and said to the disappointed customers, "Sister Fei has left, then I'll sing a few more songs." Everyone's disappointed mood was instantly reversed. One shouldn't be too greedy. To be able to hear Chen Fei sing live, and it was a new work at that, was already a great fortune and they couldn't ask for too much. Soon Lu Chen was still there and he wanted to continue singing, which was enough to satisfy their ears. Therefore, the commotion in the bar subsided in the blink of an eye, and the customers returned to their seats. There were also people secretly speculating that the relationship between Lu Chen and Chen Fei was so good. Were the rumors between the two of them true? Is this true? At the same moment, in the Jinhui building, more than 10 kilometers away from Forget Grass Bar in Hohai, in an office of Alchuang Film and Television Production Company, Yan Qingyi stared at the video on the computer screen with a look of disbelief. Alchuang Film and Television was a medium-sized film and television production company. It had been established for 15 years. It was a little famous in the industry and had invested in shooting many TV series with good ratings. Yan Qingyi was one of the TV series directors signed by Alchuang Film and Television. This middle-aged and old man who was about to reach the age of knowing destiny, was burly, had a loud voice, thick eyebrows, big eyes, a square face and neatly combed hair dyed black. He had a very dignified aura. People familiar with director Yan knew that he paid great attention to his personal image and rarely lost his composure. But now, just watching a video, Yan Qingyi seemed to have seen a ghost and asked, "Is it really not a stunt?" He had just finished filming this morning and came back from the location. In the evening, he went to the company to work overtime to deal with the accumulated work during this period. At the same time, he had to choose several actors from the database. As a result, his assistant recommended him the newcomer who had been in the limelight recently. The other party's name was Lu Chen. Yan Qingyi had no impression of Lu Chen. In the past 6 months, he had been busy with the filming of the TV series Urban Love, and usually had no time to pay attention to the gossip news in the circle. But the video given to him by his assistant made him have the most profound impact on Lu Chen in an instant. In the video, the scene of Lu Chen taking off his clothes and flying, and then kicking the assailant down with one blow was really too shocking. It made people feel very unreal, as if they were shooting a certain explosive action movie. Yan Qingyi didn't doubt the authenticity of the video. What happened in Hangzhou was so sensational that even if he was busy with work, he had heard about it, but it wasn't until today that he saw the video of the scene. He was shocked at once. Yan Qingyi's assistant said with a smile, "Boss, of course it's true. It was on the headlines of many newspapers, and it was on the top of the hot list in the Waves blog. It's still very popular." Yan Qingyi reached out with a wry smile and combed his hair. He sighed, "According to you young people, I'm really out of date. I really have to pay more attention to the internet." He also had a AV account in the Waves blog, but he usually didn't use it. It was taken care of by his assistant. The assistant complimented, "Boss, you are not behind the times. You are still young." Yan Qingyi smiled and waved his hand. He didn't eat the assistant's flattery. He asked tentatively, "Guizi, do you want him to try the role of Chen Yaoyang?" The assistant replied frankly, "Yes, I think Lu Chen is very suitable for the role of Chen Yaoyang." As Yan Qingyi's most powerful and trusted assistant, Guizi is usually asked by some small stars and artists on the 3rd or 4th tier and even the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th tier to get a role in Yan Qingyi's TV series. If the time is right and the role is right, Guizi doesn't mind recommending it to director Yan. He can get a lot of benefits and even extra enjoyment from it, which can be regarded as the biggest source of extra income. Yan Qingyi was actually well aware of it, but Guizi knew his limits very well. He never made his own decisions for him and never overstepped his duties as an assistant, so he was happy to pretend to be confused. If he didn't give his subordinates some benefits, who would be willing to work loyally? But the role of Chen Yaoyang was different. It was an important supporting role at the beginning of the second season of Urban Love, which affected the ratings of the series to a certain extent, so he had to take it seriously. Urban Love was the focus of Alchwang Film and Television Production Company this year, with huge investment. The so-called weekend drama refers to the drama that is broadcast on Saturday and Sunday nights, usually one episode a night. After entering the new century, the domestic film and television industry has been greatly impacted by foreign culture. The popular fashion of Europe, the United States, Japan and South Korea prevailed in China for a while, bringing great changes to the entire industry. The emergence of weekend dramas is a good example. It combines the characteristics of American and Korean dramas, is produced in the form of filming and broadcasting at the same time, and the number of episodes to be filmed is determined by the ratings. If the ratings are high and the audience likes it, then it will be filmed more. After the first season, there will be a second season, a third season. As long as the TV commercials sell well, it won't be a problem to shoot 10 seasons. But if the ratings are not good, it may be aborted after shooting 10 episodes, and there is no room for negotiation. For film and television production companies, shooting weekend dramas has its advantages and disadvantages, but the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Yan Qingyi is the director of Urban Love. So far, all 24 episodes of the first season have been shot and 18 episodes have been broadcast on TV. The ratings are not bad, at least worthy of the investors. Influenced by American dramas, the shooting of weekend dramas has high requirements and short-term capital investment. In order to control the risk, film and television production companies like Alchwang will bring in investors to share the pressure. Urban Love has been confirmed to start shooting, and the company has put forward higher requirements. The screenwriter has added more brand new characters in the new script, so selecting actors has become Yan Qingyi's main task now. He was worried that Guizi would lose his sense of propriety and bring trouble to his work. This is what director Yan can't stand. "Boss, I don't even know this Lu Qin," Guizi hurriedly cried out. "Isn't Qin Yaoyang's position as a young and handsome policeman? You see, Lu Qin's skills are very good, right? He is 100% trained in martial arts, taekwondo or kickboxing, and..." He controlled the mouse and opened another video. "Look at his personal image again." Guizi opened. It was the music video, Not Yet Lovers, shot by Lu Qin and MSN. In this music video, Lu Qin plays the role of a college student who plays opposite Mu Xiaochu, which can be regarded as a natural performance. His sunny handsomeness as well as his natural performance made Yan Qingyi's eyes light up. The director made a decision on the spot. Then contact this Lu Qin and ask him to participate in the audition the day after tomorrow. Yan Qingyi felt that there was a temperament in Lu Qin that met his requirements. Qin Yaoyang is him. Chapter 221. You're too unkind. As soon as Lu Qin picked up the phone, Qin Jianhao's angry roar immediately came from the phone. Lu Qin, he hadn't even eaten breakfast yet and he was sprayed with a dumbfounded face. He asked in surprise, "Brother Kenho, what's wrong?" "What's wrong? What do you think?" Qin Jianhao said angrily. "Last night you brought Qin Fei to Forget Worries bar, and you didn't even inform me. Do you think you're unkind?" Last night when Lu Qin and Qin Fei went to the bar, Qin Jianhao wasn't there. When he got the news and rushed over, not to mention Qin Fei, even Lu Qin had already left. Big Boss Qin was unhappy in his heart, especially when he heard his old customers say how good Qin Fei's new song was. His heart was like a nest of wild cats scratching and scratching, and he was extremely unhappy. Qin Jianhao was a fan of Qin Fei. Although he wasn't a die-hard fan, crazy fan, or brainless fan, he was still a true fan. In the drawer of his room he kept all of Qin Fei's CD albums. Missing such an opportunity really made him beat his chest and stamp his feet. At that time he called Lu Qin, but Lu Qin's phone was turned off, so he called again this morning. Lu Qin said with a smile, "Brother Jianhao, you really wronged me. Last night it was Sister Fei who decided to go to Forget Worries bar. Even if I called you at that time, you wouldn't be able to get to the scene. If there's a chance in the future, I'll invite Sister Fei to come over again." Of course, Qin Jianhao wasn't really angry. What he wanted was Lu Qin's words. He suddenly smiled. "You're getting more and more promising now. Even Heavenly Queen Qin treats you differently. You too, cough cough." He wanted to ask if they were really hooking up, but he felt that it would be too much, so he swallowed it back down. Lu Qin smiled bitterly. "We are friends, brother and sister." Qin Jianhao said, "It's best if they're siblings. Otherwise I'll be jealous. Remember what you said." Lu Chen was speechless and ended the call with Qin Jianhao. At this time, a man in a tight-fitting t-shirt with short hair walked over and asked, "Lu Chen, let's practice a few moves." The 30-year-old man was called Wan Yong, and he was the coach in charge of fighting in the Borui Club. The Borui Club was the property of Li Mubai's family. When Lu Chen first came here, it was Li Mushi who brought him here. Later, she gave him a high-level VIP card so that he could use all the fitness equipment here for free. There was a fighting hall in the Borui Club, which was not open to the public except for the members. The coaches and some members of the hall came from the military and worked part-time in the security company owned by the Li family. This place was equivalent to a small training base for them. It would be a waste not to use it. With the help of his relationship with Li Mubai and Li Mushi, Lu Chen moved his daily exercise to the Borui Club, because it was easy for him to find martial arts partners here. The people in the fighting hall, including Wan Yong, admired Lu Chen's strength. Therefore, there was no shortage of people who humbly asked him for advice. And Lu Chen also brought some changes to the club's fighting hall, such as the wooden dummies erected next to the ring. This was specially ordered to practice Wing Chun. He paid for it himself and anyone could use it. Lu Chen had his own ideas. He was now very familiar with Wan Yong, and they had a good relationship. Hearing the latter's challenge, Lu Chen did not talk nonsense and made an okay gesture. Wan Yong chuckled and stretched out his hand to grab onto the ropes of the ring, then abruptly leaped up. He was an upright veteran. He had honed his skills in the army and liked to compare notes with others. Unfortunately, in the Borui Club, there was no one who could match him. Li Mushi was very powerful, but Wan Yong had never been serious with her, and had always given in to this young lady. Wan Yong was actually quite depressed. It wasn't until the appearance of Lu Chen that he got back the feeling of fighting and could fight freely. Therefore, the morning's fight became a reserved program for the two. Lu Chen was just about to go up, but his cell phone rang again. This was the third call he received in the morning. Lu Chen shook his head, more or less understanding the helplessness of star artists. It was his sister Lu Shi who called him. Lu Shi told him a piece of good news. Aochuang Film and Television Production Company just called and invited you to audition for the TV series Urban Love tomorrow. They said that there is a role that should be very suitable for you. TV series? Lu Chen's spirit was suddenly refreshed. What role? Of course it's a male supporting role playing a policeman, Lu Shi said. It's about 5 episodes. If it's popular, there's still a chance for a sequel. Lu Chen said decisively, no problem, I'll go to the audition. So far, Lu Chen has only shot a commercial and a music video in terms of performance. Although director Zhang Wenyan promised to give Lu Chen a role in his blockbuster film earlier, the film has not been officially started yet, and there may be some changes. There are really too many people staring at Zhang Wenyan's blockbuster. Lu Chen intends to develop in the field of film and television. He intends to walk the path of film, television and singing, but he has not found a suitable opportunity to cut in. Now that someone has invited him to audition, how can he miss it? And the role is a policeman, which is very much to his liking. Lu Shi said, I have agreed for you and the other party has also sent the script. You'd better hurry up and prepare. The ratings of this TV series are good, and there will definitely be a lot of people competing. Lu Chen said, then I'll be back right away. He apologized to Wan Yong and then drove back to his studio. The script sent by Aochuang Film and Television Production Company has been printed. In fact, it's just 2 thin pages of A4 paper. The main character involved is called Qin Yaoyang, and his identity is a young policeman who has just graduated from the police academy. He is kind, brave and has good skills. The role positioning is very clear. In the plot of the script, Qin Yaoyang catches the thief who steals the heroin, and the two meet each other. The former is attracted by the latter and launches a passionate pursuit. The heroine also has a good impression of Qin Yaoyang, but her heart always remembers the hero who has just broken up with her, so a painful story unfolds. Of course, comrade Qin Yaoyang can't get along with Pan Xia in the end. Lu Chen read it carefully and felt that the role was not very difficult. But he still made careful preparations. After understanding, the TV series Urban Love is still being broadcast on the city channel of Beijing Television. At present, the national ratings are 0.35% and the Beijing and Tianjin ratings are 1.9%, which is not bad. The first season of Urban Love is coming to an end, and the role Lu Chen auditioned for will appear in the first episode of the second season. So it belongs to an important supporting role. And Aochuang Film and Television Production Company, which produced this TV series, has a good reputation in the industry, and the director Yan Qingyi has a good reputation. It is definitely not a grassroots team. In short, it's a rare opportunity. It should be known that in Beijing, there are not only famous schools such as Beijing Film Academy, Chinese Opera Academy, and Beijing Arts Academy, but also a large number of actors and artists. An ordinary TV series is very popular. If the news about the role is leaked out, it will definitely attract a group of people to fight for it. Lu Qin knew that he was definitely not the only candidate for the audition, but he didn't expect the competition to be so fierce. At 9 o'clock the next morning, when Lu Qin arrived at Alchuang Film and Television Production Company ahead of time, there were already 5 or 6 opponents sitting in the small room outside the conference room for the audition. What they have in common with Lu Qin is that they are all very young, good-looking, handsome, and full of confidence. When Lu Qin came in, everyone's eyes were focused on him. Someone obviously recognized him and frowned. But until Lu Qin found a seat to sit down, no one spoke, and the atmosphere in the room was very depressing. Plus Lu Qin, there were a total of 7 people participating in the audition. Interestingly, Alchuang Film and Television Production Company actually provided props and costumes for all the auditionees. That is, police uniforms and all sizes are available. Lu Qin asked for a suit that fits him and changed in Alchuang's dressing room. When he came out, the eyes of the little girl in charge of costume and props management in Alchuang were shining. He's really handsome. Lu Qin was the tallest of all the people who participated in the audition, and his physique was very well proportioned. He was simply a natural clothes rack, and he was particularly stylish in uniform. At 9:30 the audition officially began. Lu Qin was ranked 4th. The first person who went in first came out after only 5 minutes, looking dejected and disheartened. His audition process was obviously a failure and was rejected on the spot. The second one went in and stayed inside for 7 minutes. He also came out with an ugly expression. The third one went in. Some of the young people who were still sitting in the room waiting were obviously nervous. Some bowed their heads in silence, some stared at the script in their hands, and even Lu Qin couldn't help but feel nervous. But there was a man with peach blossom eyes who looked very relaxed, leaning against the chair with his legs crossed, with a faint smile on his face, as if victory was in his grasp. Lu Qin couldn't help but take another look at him. This man with peach blossom eyes had a feminine appearance. His age, appearance, and dress were in line with the popular young fresh meat. His skin was very white with a hint of femininity. Probably noticing Lu Qin's gaze, he turned his head, and the corners of his lips evoked a cynical arc. As if to say, with me here, don't even think about it. Unfortunately, Lu Qin couldn't remember who the other party was. There were really a lot of people with similar appearances in the circle. Lu Qin, the third one, came out even faster. In just a few minutes he was out. When he came out he looked like a frosted eggplant. So it was the turn of Lu Qin, who was in 4th place. Hearing his name, Lu Qin immediately stood up, tidied up his uniform and walked into the audition conference room. At this moment, his mood became very calm. Chapter 222. Countless memories emerged in Lu Qin's mind. They were all memories belonging to Mo Ran. This powerful actor in the dream world is deep and introverted, strong-willed, and has outstanding talent. But his luck has always been bad, and he has never been a real protagonist. Although Mo Ran was very open-minded about this, Lu Qin knew that it was one of the biggest regrets in his life. As an actor who doesn't want to be the protagonist, Lu Qin once made a vow in his heart to help Mo Ran realize his long-cherished wish in his own world. So today's audition was undoubtedly an excellent start. His mind was full of thoughts, but his expression was calm and his steps were steady and powerful. Because Lu Qin knew that as an actor coming to the audition, the first impression left on the director was very important. He didn't want to deduct points in this regard. The conference room of Alchuang was not big. For the needs of the audition, the conference table had been readjusted, leaving enough space for the actors who came for the audition. Behind the long table sat 4 people, 3 men and 1 woman, with paper and pens in front of them, and a digital camera next to them. 2 young men and women stood side by side. Lu Qin stood in front of the judges, first bowed to them and then said, "Hello, Director Yan. Hello, teachers. I'm Lu Qin. Please advise me." Among the 4 judges he recognized Yan Qingyi, the director of Urban Love. After receiving the audition notice, the studio sorted out the corresponding information for Lu Qin. There was a photo of Yan Qingyi on the internet, so he couldn't be mistaken. When Lu Qin came in, everyone's eyes lit up. Compared with the first 3 guys who were quickly eliminated, Lu Qin's appearance conditions were undoubtedly much better. He was tall and handsome enough. Wearing a police uniform, he had the kind of hot-blooded momentum of a generous man. In the jargon with his style, if he acted in an anti-Japanese war film or a spy war film, he would be wearing the uniform of an underground worker, full of sunshine and righteousness. The most important thing was that Lu Chen's performance was calm and polite, not like a newcomer at all. Yan Qingyi was very satisfied. He came to preside over the audition today, mainly to interview Lu Chen. Everyone else was just a foil, a necessary procedure. After all, the company and the investors had their own requirements. For example, the middle-aged woman with gold-rimmed glasses sitting on the far right was the representative of the largest investor. Yan Qingyi didn't have much of a good impression of this person and was a little worried that she would cause trouble for him. Similar things had happened several times already. However, Lu Chen was so outstanding that she had nothing to say. "Hello, Lu Chen." The director showed a kind smile, nodded and asked, "Have you read the script?" Lu Chen replied, "Yes, I've seen them all." Not only had he read the contents of the two thin pieces of A4 paper, but he had also memorized them. There were a few scenes that were part of the audition. "That's good." Yan Qingyi pointed to the young man and woman standing next to the camera and said, "Then you can try it. The two of them will play the heroine and the thief respectively." Al Chuang obviously attached great importance to this interview. Not only did they prepare uniforms, but they also had people to accompany them. In this way, the interviewee didn't need to be empty when performing, which was conducive to their own level. Lu Chen nodded, "Okay." The script had been in his mind for a long time, and he had repeatedly figured it out many times. Naturally, there was no problem performing on the spot. The assistant sitting next to Yan Qingyi pressed the play button of a digital video recorder on the table. The sound of heavy traffic in the city immediately sounded in the conference room. The man and woman who accompanied the actor stood separately. The man was behind the woman's side, staring at the latter's bag. He slowly extended his hand towards the bag. The scene of this play was in the subway. The heroine was targeted by a thief, and the male police officer came to her aid. Because of this, the two became entangled and had emotional entanglements. At the moment when the thief made his move, Lu Chen, who was standing a few steps away, looked cold, and his dark eyes revealed a cold light, as if an eagle was staring at a fox, and the muscles of his whole body suddenly tightened. "Good." Yan Qingyi couldn't help but give Lu Chen a thumbs up in his heart. As the saying goes, an expert can be seen as soon as he makes a move. Yan Qingyi has been a director for so many years, and his eyes for watching a play are undoubtedly more profound than his directing skills. What he was most worried about was Lu Chen's acting skills, because the latter was not a professional or even a real actor. Lu Chen was a newcomer singer who had just made his debut. Although Lu Chen has already shot commercials and MVs, in Yan Qingyi's opinion, it was not worth mentioning at all. Although Urban Love is a youth idol film, this director Yan still has high requirements for the actor's acting skills. Just now, Lu Chen's expression, eyes and seemingly subconscious movements made him realize that he might have picked up a treasure today. It felt so good. In the next step, Lu Chen turned sideways and approached the thief, with a big stride. His right hand stretched out like lightning and grabbed the thief's hand that the latter had just retracted, firmly grasping it. Without waiting for the other party to react, Lu Chen's left hand had already grabbed his shoulder, and at the same time his right leg swept across the knee joint. The thief was caught off guard and lost his balance in an instant. He was put to the ground by Lu Chen with a standard grappling movement, and his hands were firmly locked. "Ah!" the four judges exclaimed in unison. Because the script did not require actors to do this at all, after being caught, the thief would be twisted and pressed to the ground, unlike now where he was completely helpless and was controlled by Lu Chen like a puppet. The thief classmate wouldn't really be hurt, right? In fact, their worries were superfluous. Lu Chen controlled his strength very well. Although the actor was restrained, he was not hurt at all. He just instinctively screamed. Lu Chen ignored the person who received the lunchbox, took the wallet he had just stolen from the other party's hand, and half squatted down and handed it to the female lead. He smiled and said, "Miss, is this your wallet?" The female lead was completely stunned and didn't know how to deal with it. It took a while for her to wake up from a dream. She took the wallet handed over by Lu Chen with a red face and said softly, "Thank you." Lu Chen didn't continue to act, but helped the bitter thief up, helped the other party pat the dust off his body a few times, and said apologetically, "I'm really sorry, are you hurt?" The person who received the lunchbox shook his head and showed a look of admiration on his face. "You're so amazing." Lu Chen smiled and turned to face the judges. Yan Qingyi was the first to raise his hand, clapped his hands and clapped very hard. Lu Chen not only met his requirements for the role of Chen Yaoyang, but he was also extraordinarily excellent. Lu Chen's skill was not a special skill but real kung fu. Not to mention that he was young and handsome, his acting skills were first class and he knew martial arts. He was simply a perfect idol star. Yan Qingyi firmly believed that Lu Chen was Chen Yaoyang. The director was even excited. According to Lu Chen's level, the scenes related to him could be stretched out for several episodes. The others also applauded. This didn't happen at all in the previous interviews. Yan Qingyi put down his hand and said with a smile, "Very good, I think. What Yan Qingyi never expected was that just as he opened his mouth to express his approval of Lu Chen, the investor representative sitting on the far right interrupted, "You are not very suitable for the role of Chen Yaoyang." As soon as this remark came out, everyone present was stunned, including Lu Chen. Everyone looked at the middle-aged woman with incredulous eyes. The latter reached out and lifted her gold-rimmed glasses, then smiled at Lu Chen and said, "Lu Chen, your appearance and acting skills are very good and I like it very much, but you are too tall, not good enough for the female lead and," after a pause she continued, "you are putting too much pressure on the male lead which is not conducive to the overall style of our show, so it's really a pity." Unexpectedly he was rejected and it was for such a reason. Lu Chen was speechless. This person was not denying his strength, but thought that he was too strong, so he overtook the main role. Such a strong reason made him speechless. And Yan Qingyi's face turned blue. What bullshit reason he chose Lu Chen, this was the effect he wanted. The ratings of the first season of Urban Love were ordinary. Although the second season was renewed to continue filming, in order to improve the ratings, there must be highlights or even explosive points. The role of Chen Yaoyang was exactly where the breakthrough point was, and an actor like Lu Chen was needed to shine. Moreover, Lu Chen's fame was not small, and he had nearly 10 million fans on the Waves blog. This was the guarantee of ratings. The representative of the investors actually thought that Lu Chen had overtaken the main role. His brain was simply flooded with water. If this was a movie, there would be a problem if the light of the supporting role was stronger than the protagonist, but as a fast-paced weekend show, a good supporting role would undoubtedly bring a sense of freshness to the audience. It was a good thing to have controversy and conflict. He said flatly, "Manager Gong, I don't think these are problems." The middle-aged woman still smiled. "Director Yin, then let's put it aside first and let the people behind us finish trying. If there is no more suitable one, then we can consider this Mr. Lu Chen, okay?" Yan Qingyi finally understood. What bullshit pressure. It was clear that the investors already had a candidate. They were 100% waiting for the audition in the back. What was too much was that the other party did not discuss it with him in advance, and set him up at the critical moment. As for the reason, it was very complicated. But the world was big, the investment was the biggest, and it was easy to annoy the investors and replace the director. The first season of Urban Love had already been filmed, and Yan Qingyi's importance to this TV series had not reached the level of indispensable. Unless the ratings of the first season were so high that people could not ignore his role. Yan Qingyi couldn't help but be disheartened and said expressionlessly, "Whatever." This was the loudest protest he could muster. Chapter 223. The judges were arguing. Lu Chen had eyes to see, ears to hear, and he wasn't stupid. How could he not understand? Director Yan Qingyi undoubtedly appreciated and supported him, but this manager Gong obviously had other plans. And it was most likely a representative of the investors. Otherwise, Yan Qingyi wouldn't be so helpless. It should be known that the power of film and TV series directors is usually very high. Although before Alchuang Film and Television Production Company, Lu Chen wasn't sure that the role belonged to him, and failing the audition and being rejected was one of the expected situations. But he was still a little upset. Since the role has been decided internally, why bother asking me to come over? Is this interesting? Of course, on the surface, Lu Chen still remained calm and said with a faint smile, "Thank you, Director Yin, thank you, teachers." There was no need to lose his temper. The entertainment industry was never a fairy tale world. It was a very naive idea to expect everything to be fair and just. Only when you are strong enough to make people look up to you can you have the ability to make rules. Manager Gong smiled and said, "There is still a chance, please wait for our notice." In fact, she also had a very good impression of Lu Chen and understood that Lu Chen was completely competent for the role of Chen Yaoyang. But she knew better whose meal she was eating and who she was working for. So she could only say sorry. Yan Qingyi watched with great regret as Lu Qin turned around and walked out of the conference room, and he couldn't help clenching his fists. He said expressionlessly, "Next." When Lu Qin came out, the man with peach blossom eyes had just stood up. The two people's eyes happened to meet. Lu Qin saw a hint of pride and mockery in the other party's eyes. He knew in his heart that this was probably the internally decided candidate. After leaving Alchuang, Lu Qin returned to the studio. Seeing Lu Shi, his sister asked with concern, "How was the audition? Did you pass?" Li Feiyu, Chen Xian and others also pricked up their ears. If Lu Qin could star in a TV series, that would be really great. He would develop in all aspects of film, TV and song, and become a triple superstar. Lu Qin shook his head and said, "I was rejected. They have already decided internally." Damn. His elder sister cursed, which was rare for her. How could they do that? She was really angry. Although Lu Qin can't be compared with the top stars on the same line, he first won the championship of Singing China, and then his album sold well. The fans of Wave's blog are more than 10 million, and he can't be regarded as an ordinary person. In the end, he still couldn't resist the unspoken rules of others. He felt like he had been played badly. Lu Qin comforted her instead, "It's okay. There will be many opportunities in the future. The director actually thinks highly of me." Lu Shi rolled her eyes at him and asked, "How do you know they're not singing a duet?" Lu Qin smiled bitterly. He was not 100% sure, but Yan Qingyi should be quite sincere. However, there was really no point in saying all this now. Lu Shi didn't want to continue hurting her brother, so she said, "I have some good news on my side." Lu Qin perked up. "What news?" Lu Shi said, "The new contract with Whale TV has basically been finalized." The new contract between Lu Qin and Whale TV has been negotiated by Lu Shi for some time. Now there is finally a result. In fact, the difference between the two sides is not very big, and the desire to continue cooperation is very strong. The main problem is the signing fee and the length of the anchor. Lu Shi is working hard to fight for the greatest benefits for Lu Qin. The final result was to terminate the original contract and re-sign a new one-year contract. Lu Qin will become the star spokesperson of Whale TV, with an endorsement fee of 3.8 million yuan after tax. In addition, the proportion of gifts has been increased by 5%. Lu Qin also has to participate in website-related promotional activities, and there are requirements for live broadcast time and exclusivity. Both sides are very satisfied with this contract. The endorsement fee of 3.8 million yuan, if added with personal income tax, is almost 5 million yuan. In fact, the endorsement fee for external publicity is 5 million yuan. Compared with Lu Chen's current value, this amount of money is definitely more than a lot, which is conducive to promoting his position. However, Whale TV will never suffer a loss. Lu Chen's miraculous rise in Whale TV has brought a lot of popularity resources to the platform, and has also attracted more excellent anchors to join. The effect of publicity and advertising is completely worth such a price tag. The most important thing is that Lu Chen's future development is limitless. It is definitely better to sign early than to sign late. It is a win-win situation. Hearing that there are millions of yuan in his account, Lu Chen is of course very happy. Some time ago, in order to pay off his family's debts and redeem his own villa, he sold his online crowdfunding shares along with a large part of the studio's liquidity. And the daily expenses of the studio are not a small amount. With this endorsement fee there is no problem. Lu Chen plans to buy a larger house in Beijing before the end of the year. He still has to work hard to make money and make more money. Therefore, Lu Chen quickly put the audition behind him and regarded it as a joke. However, things are not as simple as he thought. The next afternoon, when Lu Chen was practicing the piano in the studio, Lu Shi came over with a laptop. She angrily pointed out the web page opened on the screen to Lu Chen. What was displayed on the screen was entertainment news from a certain website. The content was that the second season of the recently popular TV series Urban Love was about to start filming, and the currently popular Little Fresh Meat artist Jiang Dongjun would play an important new supporting role. Originally, this kind of soft propaganda was very common and could be found everywhere in major entertainment media and websites, but this news also specifically mentioned Lu Chen, saying that Lu Chen also participated in the audition, and the director still chose Jiang Dongjun. His sister was simply filled with righteous indignation. They are using you as a stepping stone and stepping on you to hype up. The same entertainment gossip news was not only on this website, but there were also many searches, including blogs, post bars, forums and other places, which were obviously premeditated hype. What a fuck. Even a clay figurine has 3 points of anger, and Lu Chen was not an emotionless animal. How could he not be angry and annoyed when he was stepped on like this? Lu Shi asked, should we make a statement to fight back? She was really angry. Lu Chen suppressed the anger in his heart, shook his head calmly and said, no need. How to say it? He did participate in the audition and was indeed rejected. Could he say that the other party played the unspoken rules? Such a verbal war without any real substance would make people feel that they couldn't afford to lose. And it would also give the other party more opportunities to hype up. Lu Shi should understand the truth, but she was confused by anger. Even if it was a counterattack, it needed to be done in a more clever and powerful way. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, don't pay attention to them for the time being. I'll change to a new TV series. A new TV series? Lu Shi was stunned and asked, is there another crew looking for you? Of course not, Lu Chen said with a smile. Sister, let's invest in a weekend TV series ourselves. What do you think? Lu Shi suddenly opened her eyes wide. Invest in a weekend TV series ourselves? She felt that her mind was a little confused. Or was Lu Chen's mind confused? Shoot a TV series himself? How could it be so simple? Lu Chen explained, of course I'll find a strong company to cooperate with. I'll write the script, I'll play the lead role, and I'll add a part of the studio's investment. Lu Shi was surprised. You can write scripts? Lu Chen smiled. He had experienced 3 lives in his dream, namely the singer Su Bo, the actor Mo Ran, and the freelance writer Fang Mingyi, who had written scripts before. Moreover, there were many classic films and TV series and literary works in the dream world. Through Su Bo, Mo Ran, and Fang Mingyi, they were so vivid and clear in his memory that he could completely reproduce them. At present, with his current situation, he couldn't make the best movies for the time being, but there was no problem with making a popular TV series, and there was also room for operation. Especially the format of shooting and broadcasting at the same time on weekends, which could control the cost very well. Originally, Lu Chen planned to accumulate some experience in his acting career first, and then consider making his own TV series or even movies, but now that he had encountered such a situation, he simply played it big. If he couldn't even play a supporting role, then he would be the lead role. Lu Shi was more and more unable to understand her brother, and her expression was a little strange. Lu Chen couldn't explain too much, so he said, don't worry, I won't mess around. Ring ring. As soon as his voice fell, the mobile phone on the piano stand rang. Lu Chen picked up the mobile phone and looked at the caller ID. He made a gesture to his sister that he was going to answer it. Lu Shi glared at him and left the room. It was his other sister, Sister Fei, who called Lu Chen. On the phone, Chen Fei asked bluntly, did you go to the audition for Alchuang? Lu Chen didn't expect that even she knew about this. He said with a wry smile, yes. Chen Fei said with a smile, now you know the complexity of the circle, don't you? That Jiang Dongjun is predetermined, and the reputation of Alchuang's investors is not very good. If you really want to make a movie or TV series, I can help you recommend a few reliable friends. Lu Chen's heart couldn't help but feel warm. Chen Fei was obviously very concerned about his situation. Not only did she know about it in the first place, but she also went to inquire about the inside story. He said sincerely, thank you, Sister Fei. I may really need your help. I have a script in my hand that I want to shoot and I want to find a partner. Chen Fei asked curiously, what script? Lu Chen said, I wrote the script myself and it hasn't been written yet. Chen Fei said with a smile, then you write it for me first. If the story is good, I will help you recommend it. She obviously didn't believe that Lu Chen could write a good script, but her intention to help remained unchanged. Lu Chen was overjoyed. That's great. I'll treat you to dinner tonight. Chen Fei was reserved. There are a lot of people who want to treat me to dinner. You have to show your sincerity, but not tonight. Lu Chen was not discouraged. Then tomorrow night, he was very sincere. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.